It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And happy Monday to everybody out there. Hope all is well. Welcome into Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are ready for a big week, man. It's game week, right? We had a week off last week, but we were action-packed here on the show. We had plenty of interviews, guests, and talking points, and it was a fun week. And I'm looking forward to yet another fun week here on the show. We're already working to line some guests up. I know today we don't have anything planned. We got plenty to talk about, so we'll do that. But tomorrow on Talking Tuesday, we've already got lined up Slade Bolden tomorrow at 11:30. And then as we do every Tuesday, top of the hour, we talk with Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. And I'm working on Josh Pate and Roman Harper as we speak. So Pate said he's good to do it today. So maybe we'll have an audible. Maybe we'll get Pate on here in a few moments or so. So we will keep you updated on that. I'll text him back and see what time works. So I guess we'll have Josh Pate today. So that'll be exciting. Make sure you guys are tuned in for that. And ready to rock and roll. We're going to talk a little bit more about Oklahoma. We haven't really got into it much. But first, I definitely want to start with the whole conversation regarding head coach Kalen DeBoer, right? There's been a lot of conversations being had, not just this past week, not this past weekend, but over the last couple weeks, we've seen a lot of news coming out, right? That, hey, anytime there's a job opening right now, Kalen DeBoer seems to be the main target that these schools are going after. We finally got a statement officially from head coach Kalen DeBoer regarding the most recent news, which was the whole Michigan vacancy. Because remember, there was the Penn State job opening. There was a lot of speculation there. He came out in the media and the press and was able to make a statement. But this time he came out, with a virtual statement. Him and Greg Byrne alongside each other released something through Yale, Alabama. So we'll read that. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it, what that means, because I had some thoughts regarding it. I'm curious to get y'all's thoughts on it as well. I put out a tweet last night. And I'll let you guys see it in a second. We'll talk about it when we come back. But basically, again, glad to hear the news, right, that, hey, we can put this behind us right now. We can lock in on Oklahoma, pay attention to, what's in front of us. And we all know that's the opportunity that we have in the playoff game, first round, right, against Oklahoma on the road. Nice to be able to kind of put the outside noise of all the job speculation, all that to the side. However, I did have some thoughts in terms of how this whole thing works, in terms of extensions and what that could mean in the future and whatnot. So I want to bring that up here in a minute, and we'll discuss that here in a second. That being said, let me remind you about our friends over at the Good Feet Store, America's art sport experts. Try before you buy, nothing to lose. Make sure you guys check them out if you're dealing with any type of pain, whether it's foot pain, knee pain, back pain, hip pain, you name it. You're on your feet all day like I am, walking dogs or at the dog park, whatever the case may be. Make sure you guys go and check them out. Midtown Village is where you can find them here in Tuscaloosa, or you can always go to their website, goodfeet.com. That way you can schedule an appointment, find the nearest location to you. They're nationwide. These things are game changers. I'm telling you, let them work for you like they work for me. And I've been wearing them for several years now, and they are incredible, clinically proven to fix all that in just 4 short weeks. So make sure you guys check them out. Again, that is the Good Feet Store, our title sponsor. And make sure you get this, though, improving the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time. It's like we try to do 2 hours at a time. That said, we got Chase behind the glass today. Everybody, I just want you, if you can, in the chat or send an at message, tell Chase congratulations. He graduated from Mississippi State. Just had to throw that in there. No, I'm just playing. Well, he did, but it doesn't matter. He graduated. We're proud of our guy. He does a lot of hard work, man. We're glad to have him on our team with all the effort that he provides. I mean, being a team player, doing everything that he can to make not only this show better, but all the shows, man, behind the scenes. Just want to give him some credit and a shout out, because we would not be able to do this without him and all the things that he does to make it happen. So big shout out to Chase on graduating. A lot of big things coming for him in the future, and we're excited for him, and hopefully we can hold on to him as long as we can. And we just know we'll always have something going on with Chase. Chase will always be involved with us here on the Miller's Edge one way or another. So big shout out to our producer, Chase. And big thanks to everybody in the chat, man, showing Chase some love, man. That being said, let's do this, Chase. Let's hit an early timeout, because I want to dive into the conversation. 2, I need to text Josh Pate back so we can get him on here as soon as possible or whenever it works for him. So we'll do just that. So quick audible, and a good audible, right? We're calling a different play at the line of scrimmage. We do have a guest today. It'll be Josh Pate, and we'll talk with him in a moment. right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store. America's Art Sport Experts. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
At Tuscaloosa Mazda, they are expanding their showroom to serve you better. Come see their new and pre-owned Mazda lineup, offering fuel efficiency, advanced technology, and plush comfort. Tuscaloosa Mazda, 3100 Skyland Boulevard East, or online at TuscaloosaMazda.com.
With appliance savings at the Home Depot, get up to 40% off select innovative appliances like GE Profile.
What's up, guys? We got a lot of people in here early. Welcome in, man. Good to have you guys. I'm excited, man. We got plenty to talk about this week, and we'll do just that. I'll say this. I like the appeal of my new little earbuds that I'm using instead of my over-ear headsets. But I'm not used to it, man. The audio is just different. Hold on. Maybe I should swap back to the gaming headset just for now. I don't know, man. Maybe something. I'm a creature of habit, man. I'm a creature of habit. Look at all that love everybody's showing Chase in the chat, man. I love it. All right. There we go. Yeah, I'm just a creature of habit, guys. Not only that, I think just the quality on this feels a little more natural. It feels a little more natural. So, calling a bunch of audibles today. All right, let's see. So we'll definitely dive into some Oklahoma talk here in a minute, but I want to talk about the whole statement that was put out and all that here first. That said, let's see what's going on in the chat. Who do we have? Phil, what's up? We got Phil. We got Jake. Michigan, go ahead and get your own coach. That's not our coach. Roll Tide. What's up, Arthur? Safe to say the board should not have to respond to every job opening from now on. Glad he put the Michigan thing to bed. Gave Burn a chance to respond as well. Did I cut my hair? Nah. Well, I mean, I got a haircut. I'm not scared to lift it up. Sorry, I'm just not trying to mess with my hat. No, I just got I got the sides faded. But no, I still got it. It's just tied back. Got the Roman Reigns bun going on right now. Yeah, Kenji, what's up? Dwight, what's going on? Dom, what's up? Most people taking Oklahoma to win the game Friday. Pate picked Oklahoma. Well, really, I feel like, in the media, at least, it's going to be probably a toss-up, right? I mean, it's going to be, I think the numbers right now, was it like I don't know, it goes either way, like a 1-point favorite, 1.5-point favorite, some Bama, some Oklahoma. So I think it's going to probably be pretty split in the media. But hey, listen, you guys know on this show we're going to be honest, right? We're going to, break it down. I take the Coach Saban approach. I don't think I've picked against Alabama, even though in the SEC championship game I tried to hit at that. If I could, I probably would have said I felt Georgia was going to win that game. But all right, bet we got Josh Payton 10 minutes. Wait, let me yeah, I'm assuming he's on the same time zone.
Edge on Tide 100.9.
What I was saying was I ain't mad at anybody that, picks where their heart is, man. Part of it. And welcome back into this Monday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arts Support Experts. All right, well, just like in football, sometimes we have to call an audible, just like we looked at the tape Friday. We were seeing how our checks affected the defense. Well, we just had to call a check. And we initially weren't going to have a guest today. I didn't have anything lined up for today. Tomorrow and others. But we were free today. But then heard back from JP, and he said, hey, let's run it today. So we will have Josh Pate joining the show in about 9 minutes or so at 11:30 Central Time. So next segment, we will be joined by Josh Pate, which would be great. I know a lot of you guys are talking about the Oklahoma game, and then I think he ended up picking Oklahoma. So we'll let him explain that. And not like in some way like, oh, he needs to explain it. No. The way I put it is, or the way I see it is, man, listen, I want people to go with where their heart is. And, these people, listen, they watch tape. They watch a lot of college football. I mean, I want them to be themselves. So, yeah, I'm just curious, his reason, which, I mean, if I had to guess, we know how the game went last time, even the time before, right? Oklahoma's got a good defense. We're playing at Oklahoma. It's a playoff game. Our offense still hasn't really picked up the pieces just yet. The last time we played, they probably looked worse than they had in it's quite some time. I would say we looked even worse in that SEC championship game than we were the past couple of weeks before that. So, I mean, listen, you can't be mad at people that do have some concerns about that. I mean, I think that's just being honest, right? You know what I mean? Like if you're not an Alabama fan and you're watching the tape right now, I mean, there are reasons of concern for our offense. I think that's a very fair fact. So we'll talk with him and we'll let him explain all that. And trust me, I've got my own concerns and we'll discuss all that. It's like we always do here on the show. But first, before we get to that, I do want to bring this up. The statement that was put out from Coach DeBoer. Again, we talked a lot about last week, a lot of speculation. I told you guys I saw no way that Kalen DeBoer would end up at Michigan. To me, it just didn't make sense. I mean, you're only barely 2 years in here. You accept the challenge of taking on the head coaching job after Coach Saban, the GOAT, right, after he retired, and for you to leave with, in under 2 years or at the 2-year mark, to me, that just didn't make much sense, let alone go to a program like Michigan. Let me not use the word reputable because right now that's not a great word. Let me exchange that word with something a little bit more fitting. A program that's, I don't even want to say really well established would work here, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I know right now they have a lot of stuff going on, which is why I never thought, he would go there. However, take that stuff away. Like, Michigan is a good job. If they didn't have any of the scandal stuff with the Harbaugh, the whatever it was with Stallions, and now this, take that away. I mean, Michigan it's a good program historically speaking, right? I mean, the Michigan logo, we know. I mean, they've got resources, but with everything they've got going on right now, I would be shocked if someone like Kalen DeBoer would be willing to give up what he has at Alabama. And that brings me to part of my whole point and my perspective on some of this, even when it comes to the contract stuff. I know people, listen, I've noticed this, Chase. Right now, we're in a moment where because fans, and I'm speaking on Alabama fans right now, because Alabama fans are so used to having so many people against them, say somebody like me or another Alabama fan or whatever the case be, makes a comment that is just a very logical or fair thing to say, some of them get so offended because it's like everybody's in this space where they're like, oh, everybody's against Alabama. For example, let's start here real quick because we only got about 4 minutes or so to do this. There's a statement put out by Kalen DeBoer basically doubling down that his focus is here, right? Being at the University of Alabama. Greg Burns signs off on it, right? Everybody's excited. And I just put out a tweet yesterday because this is my thought process on it, right? And you guys know me. I like Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a great football coach. I'm rooting for him. I think he's going to have success here. But listen, I'm an investor, right? Like, I invest money, right? I'm a very business-minded person. The way I think of it is, art. As great as that is, I mean, he's already under contract to like 2031, and his buyout right now is like $60 million. So I couldn't help but think, like, man, if you do extend him early and you're not, I'm sure that they're smart enough to think about this, but I'm like, he already has a third highest buyout in college football. My only concern would be doing it that early, right? 2 years in could potentially put Alabama in a tough spot for whatever reason. Again, I think it should work out fine. But I also know just 3 months ago, a lot of these Bama fans that get upset if you say something that they feel like is, oh, let him cook, let him do his thing. 3 months ago, people were just recalling for the man's job. So I'm just saying, for insurance and security purposes, like, you also want to think smart contractually. As much as we love Coach DeBoer, as much as we wanted to be here, and I anticipate that. I'm not saying just let him go. But I'm saying I think you should also consider these facts, though, because, again, in this day and age in college football, how many coaches got fired this year? And how many of them were, hey, man, they thought they hit the home run and things were like this new day and age in college football. I'm just saying, like, the buyouts are more frequent and more lucrative than ever before. So I'm curious what y'all's thoughts are on that. Y'all can drop those as well, because I know some people in the response. So basically, the tweet just said, Coach DeBoer is a great coach. He's done a solid job as far. Just can't help but wonder if an extension this early, given the current high buyout, which is the third highest at $60 million in college football, could put us in a tough spot down the road if for whatever reason even though I expect things wrong. I'm just saying for whatever. It's the business side of me, somebody could bring an investment opportunity to me and tell me it's the greatest thing and it's a guarantee. I still will always want to say, well, what if? Like, that's just being smart, right? And I think for the most part, people understood what I was getting at. But then you got some people like, oh, let my AD cook. He's good at it. First of all, I know Greg Byrne personally, unlike a lot of these people. Like, I'm not telling him how to do his job. I'm just saying maybe just consider something like that. That's all I'm saying. Chase, is that valid? Isn't that a fair question, though? Like, after seeing all the crazy buyout stuff going on, isn't that just fair to say, like, hey, man, as much as we want to do is let's make sure we're smart with it and we're not pressured into something. Because here's the other thing that I want people to understand. And maybe these are my crimson glasses speaking or seeing this. Guys, I mean, we're the University of Alabama. This is a damn attractive job to a lot of people. Like, all these people making it seem like, oh, well, who are you going to get? I'm not saying right now. Again, nobody's anticipating him leaving. But I'm just saying, don't forget who we are and what resources we have and what this brand means. Like, I think people forget that. People might have been shy about taking this job initially because no one wants to follow up the GOAT. I mean, they know the pressure that comes with that. But best believe, now that we've not skipped, but gone over that part, like, if you wouldn't be the man behind the man, you'd be the man behind the man that was behind the man. Best believe that people are going to, you don't think they would want to come coach at the University of Alabama? I'm just saying, I guess what I'm getting at is, I think Alabama fans have to remember our worth, right? As a program, as a school, as a brand. And you can't fall into the trap of some of these universities that they fell in because of pressure and things like that. And then they put themselves in a bind. That's all I was saying. Again, let me repeat, because I don't want to be on the Damian Harris page or even Greg McElroy, right? I like Coach DeBoer. I support Coach DeBoer. I want Coach DeBoer around here. I think he's doing a great job. But the money side of things, the financial side of things, again, I'm an investor, so maybe I think different. But I think some of these people that are leaving some of these comments are the people that are probably paying an $800 car note for like a 2019 Corolla. Couldn't be beat. So maybe it's just a little bit different. That said, y'all think about that. Let it marinate a little bit, because I definitely want to dive back in this. But first, we got to hit a timeout, because we come back, we'll be joined by Josh Pate. We'll get his thoughts on this Alabama-Oklahoma playoff game, plus some other playoff games we'll talk to him about, but definitely want to get his thoughts on that. Coming up right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Don't go anywhere. Josh Pate joins us when we come back.
This Christmas season, visit your local Boot Barn store for top quality gifts that pay tribute to the lasting
Hey,
heritage
Chase, tell
of the
why.
West.
Be ready to write it. Right.
Handcrafted cowboy boots and American-made felt hats.
Everybody's
premium
writing
leather
articles
jackets.
when guests go on
Our
other shows. Tell them to
in-store
write one
partners
when they
will
come on
help
my
guide
show.
you as you shop, assisting with boot fitting and providing complimentary hat shaping. This Christmas, share a piece of the American
Tell
spirit.
him get his little keyboard
Boot
ready,
Barn.
because I swear, I mean, we have guests
West.
on here. that
Tide
say a lot of
100.9
great
and Pearl
shit.
River Resort online at pearlriverresort.com.
let me
Want to
share
see
this.
your holiday spirit in lights? If you lit up your house in any way, Pearl River Resort and Tide 100.9 want to see it and share it with West Alabama. All submissions will be qualified to win $500.
But yeah, tell me what you guys think about that, man. I'm just curious. Again, it has, let me preface, I hate that I even have to feel like I'm walking to. All right, bet. Let's go. Thank you, what? I hate that I feel like I even have to walk on a tightrope with some of that stuff, but it's like, bro, this is like from a money perspective. Again, there's nothing to do. I think Coach DeBoer's doing a fine job. I just think, I mean, you already got him signed, right, through 31. I just worry just jumping the gun because of, pressure or whatever it is. And I get the leverage thing. Trust me, I understand how business works. But I also just know we're in a day and age where, I mean, there's buyouts flying left and right, man. Like, and you can go from, hey, this guy is the guy, when a span, everything can change. And again, just to remind you, I mean, listen, I wasn't calling for his job. Let's be clear. I never did. But there's a lot of people in this fan base just 3 months ago that didn't like the way the FSU game went. And now those same people get upset if someone just makes a simple comment like this. People are funny, man. People are funny. All right, Chase is on that. So when we come back, we'll have him. Y'all have any questions for JP when we come back? You got fans crying about who Josh Pate's picking in the game. Fanatics, yeah. And no, that's the same thing. Like I'm like, guys. I mean, like, it's his pick. Like, I don't know. I mean, are other fan bases is? I'm gonna use the word passionate here. I'm genuinely curious because I'll be completely honest with you. And again, it's not saying this as a way to like separate myself. I'm just being completely transparent when I say this. My whole life, like I grew up the son of an NFL player, and then I myself was a top recruit, when play college football and played in the league. Right. So what I'm getting at is my experience never was like from like it's always been, and I'm saying going back to even as a kid, since my dad was a player, it's always been more like on like the athlete side. Like I never grew up to sitting in stands and games. Like I was with my dad on, like, so what I'm getting at is I don't really even know like that true fan experience. I've never experienced that. So I'm genuinely asking you guys, are all fan bases typically kind of like this passionate, or is Alabama a little bit stronger? That might sound dumb. I'm genuinely curious though.
This is Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9.
And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. Told you guys early. Initially, we didn't have a guest lined up for today. We did throughout the week, but not today. Then we called a check like Ty Simpson does pre-snap, and now we've got our buddy Josh Pate on here. So, Josh, man, big thanks to you joining us. I know it was a little last minute, but thank you seriously for hopping on here. I know it's been a minute, but we'd love to talk some ball with you, man. And I just want to tell you, too, by the way, congrats on everything that's going on right now. A lot of our listeners, we had a bunch of them go and attend your live show, which looked to be a great hit, and I'm loving everything you're doing with the Bus and the Boys. And I even listened to you on the game cast that you did. You did a hell of a job with those guys for the SEC championship game, man. So keep doing what you're doing, man. You're killing it, and it's been a fun ride watching you do all the things you're doing, man.
No, I appreciate it, brother. I didn't know what to expect on that game cast. That was one of those intentionally don't plan it out and then see how it flows, and that was really fun. I hope we get to do more of those.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it looked like it, man. So was it how much time did you have like finding out that you would be doing that? Like, I know you said you kind of like freestyling, which is fun. Honestly, I think that's what made it better, though. I think that's what people enjoy, just that honest, almost like you're kind of sitting around the table kicking it with your guys. But when did you find out you were doing that?
That's something that we do with McAfee. So Pat hit us up probably about 3 weeks ago, or 3 weeks before the game.
Mm-hmm.
Said, would you be interested? We said, yeah, absolutely. And I knew I was already going to be in town because it's SEC championship game, but also I knew we had that live show the night before. But, I talked to him a few times because he's done it. He's doing one this Saturday with Miami A&M. So he's done them before. And he said, look, the way I've done it is I bring all my guys with me and they'll be on the sideline and I'll kind of do de facto play-by-play and then I'll let them fill it in. He said, maybe you want to do it that way, but my advice to you is just kind of go feel it out, see how the game flows, see what you're comfortable with. And that's kind of what I did. And so it was kind of like I went and watched it back a little bit. It was kind of like a little bit of play-by-play, a little bit of I'm watching with my buddies in my living room, and this is what I would say naturally. And we had fun with it. The one thing I do regret is I had like a play sheet in front of me. I had a depth chart in front of me, but I probably did not memorize numbers, names to the degree I should. Like you've done a lot of that on sidelines. So you need to know who number 13 for Georgia is on special teams, because if he makes a play, you don't want to be saying, oh, man, big play by number 13 there. You want to pretty immediately have that name to rattle off. So that right there, I graded myself at like a D+. But other than that, I had a lot of fun with it.
No, man, yeah, well, don't worry about that. Like you said, I mean, first time doing it. No, I thought it sounded great listening to it, man. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys do more of it. I think the three of y'all, man, well, I guess there's four of you, but you and Luan and Will, y'all are hilarious together. But no, I thought you crushed it, man. Don't be too hard on yourself. It was good stuff. But tell me, speaking of that game, I know we're going back a couple weeks now, but I hadn't had a chance to talk to you about it, and it kind of leads into the playoff game we've got now, because Alabama still was granted a playoff berth. Going back to that game, you mentioned you called the game and you were live right there on the sideline. Tell me what you thought of that game. I mean, I heard you talking about it on the matchup. I mean, we know it was was a pretty bad one. It was a beat down by Georgia. But what did you think of Alabama's play in there? What did you think of Georgia's play in that game? What were your just overall analysis of it?
I don't think it required an overly special effort by Georgia offensively. I think they realized that early on.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I had kind of described Alabama offensively second half of the season was offensively, they're kind of like watching a tightrope walk, and everything has to be perfect, and everything really, really has to be balanced and on point. And if it is, you can walk the tightrope, and it may even look good. You may even score 30 points, but you got to walk it perfectly. If you don't, then you fall and you're dead. And in offensive terms, that means you get completely shut down and you got less than 100 yards offense late in the third quarter. So that was kind of the way it worked. I thought those running back injuries hurt them even more than I thought they would. I think when most people look at tailback injuries, they just think lack of rushing yardage. And to me, it hurt them as much receiving out of the backfield and maybe even pass pro as well as it did lack of rushing yards. So they've been able to get by not running the ball for a hefty clip this year. So I thought that hurt really still. And look, Ryan Grubb has forgotten more about offensive football than I know, but I'm still really curious about their usage of Ryan Williams, just where they use him. And I wonder if that's a little different coming up now that they've had a couple of weeks to deep dive themselves and self-scout themselves. I have continued to think that Cuevas is one of the most underrated losses that any team in the playoff field has had. And I'll be really interested watching him on the practice field this week to see if he's back, how close to 100% he is. Parker Brailsford was not anywhere remotely close to 100%. So there was just nothing. They were like a ship without a sail offensively. And then when you combine that, and that's where you can start talking about the Oklahoma game too. When you combine that Georgia game and that Oklahoma game, they got dominated in special teams. They got dominated in starting field position. I went and counted this last night because I wanted to make sure it was accurate. In the Oklahoma game, Bama never started past their own 30-yard line, and OU had 4 drives starting Bama territory, which is inexplicable. Then in the Georgia game, they never started past their 25-yard line, and Georgia had 3 drives starting Bama territory, and they scored 21 points off those. That's the game. That's ball game. You're done. You're not winning that way. And so this Friday and moving forward, I mean, you're not sitting there terrified that Oklahoma's offense is going to run away and hide from you. That's not how they're going to beat you. They're going to beat you if they do the exact same way they did last time, plus 3 turnovers, which were no accident. They punched the ball out. They went and took the ball from you, and then they dominate field position. And if you flip that, you'll go in there and win. And if you don't flip that, you'll go in there and you'll lose, and your season will be over.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned that, and we talk about that on the post-game show I do on the network now with the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Like the field position key, I don't think people have realized how that has affected us so much this season because it doesn't get talked about enough. But you mentioned it, and I've even talked to a lot of people over in the building. I mean, they'll say that. I mean, like it's been something that needs to be cleaned up because it's whether it's putting the defense in a bad spot or even if you look on the flip side, our offense isn't even getting great field position either. We've got to find ways to flip that. And you mentioned, I mean, look, just call a spade a spade. I mean, when we played these better defenses on the second half of the season, man, our offense has just kind of gone out of whack. And I'll be honest, I'm at the point where I'm even kind of questioning, like you mentioned, Ryan Williams. We've been talking about that on this show. At some point, even though he is struggling and with the drops, we understand that. I mean, he's still at the end of the day is one of the most electric guys with the football in his hands. I mean, so whether you got to do a lot of more, screen game, end around stuff, get creative. But I'm with you. I'm kind of wondering why don't we have him involved in any capacity given the sluggishness of this offense? I mean, and part of that is, Ty Simpson's play has regressed over the second half of the season. What have you seen out of him? And I'll be the first one to say, Josh, I mean, I understand, lack of running game, the musical chairs, the offensive line, even though they're not playing terrible, but still, I get it. There's a lot of things that he's having to deal with, just like Jalen Milroe had to deal with the last couple of years. So I understand that piece. But I mean, what are you seeing out of Ty Simpson? And do you think it's realistic that we see a return of the old Ty Simpson this Friday, even though he's going to be going against a really good defense in Brent Venables' squad that we know what they're capable of?
I don't even think it's up to him. I think when you watch them play, all right, so firstly, you got to address the injury concerns and the health situation. So let's assume, because Jeff Allen's probably not going to call into the show today, so let's just assume that we're going to get a healthy enough Ty Simpson and then we can move on from there. Okay, so if we assume that, I know on first glance, when you're watching their games, all eyes are on the quarterback, all eyes follow the football, and you're looking at him, and wow, these numbers aren't what we're used to. Wow, he looks flustered in the pocket. Wow, these balls aren't coming out great. He's regressed. Well, I think if you were to break football down mathematically and you were to look at pressure rate he's dealing with, and you combine that with the lack of a ground game, and to his detriment, now this is one place where I will put it on him. They have not made the vertical game click this year. It's been just a tick off here, a tick off there. If you think about a defense's perspective, I don't really have to fear the vertical ball. I don't have to fear the ground game. I don't even have to commit numbers to stop the run. And I can get after your offensive line a little bit because it's been vulnerable on the right side all year long. And now right up the middle, your center is far less than 100%. I don't think there's a quarterback in the country that functions at a high level under that situation. And that counts the two that were in New York for the Heisman Trophy finals this past weekend. So when I say it's not up to him, I think he can play plenty well enough to win the game. He can play plenty well enough to star in the game. As hard as it is to move the ball in Oklahoma, because let's not forget now, Oklahoma's faced really three pretty high-level passing attacks this year, and that's Tennessee, and that's Ole Miss, and that's Bama. And all three of them threw for over 300 yards on them. Mm-hmm. And Alabama will do that again if the pieces are in place, functioning properly. The big question I have is, Alabama, I think on paper they're the 23rd ranked passing offense in the country. Mm-hmm. Do they take a passing game that is that caliber into Norman Friday? If they do, that means other parts of the offense are functional again, and that means you're getting at least a minimum baseline ground game. More importantly, tailbacks are a factor in the passing game again. Pass pros kicked up a notch. You're healthier up the middle in the offensive line. It's kicked up a notch. If all those things are there, hey, I don't even care how they use Ryan Williams. It would be a nice bonus if he were involved. But even without a ton of involvement from him last time they played him, they threw for over 300. It's just turning the ball over was the big problem.
Yeah. Hopefully they can find a way to clean that piece up. I just, going on the road there, man, it's going to be a tough environment, and given their defense, man, it's a good squad. We have to find something out offensively. So hopefully we can do just that. But, Grubb and Coach DeBoer, I mean, they've had 2 weeks, I guess. Well, they will have had 2 weeks to prepare. So hopefully they can come up with their best shot for this Oklahoma defense. We're joined by Josh Pate. I got a couple more questions for you, man. Again, I appreciate you hopping on here with us. Number one, you're close in with a lot of the stuff going on in the college football world. Kalen DeBoer's name has popped up time after time. Every time a new opening comes up, he comes out and releases a statement, him and Greg Byrne. So it's pretty clear at this point that he's going to be staying put, which I think a lot of people probably anticipated. But there still was, with the Penn State thing, I feel like it was pretty shut quickly and there wasn't much to it. With the Michigan one, I didn't see him leaving whatsoever, but it did feel like a lot of people, even in the know, like in the media world, weren't fully closing the door on it. Before the statement, I mean, and I don't know how much you can say, was there any concern or anything that you thought could, lead him to maybe a job like Michigan, or did you always feel that he would 100% be at Alabama?
99.9%. The only reason I always leave that 0.01 is because I'm not in charge of it. Like if you were asking if I'm going to Michigan, I could tell you 100% no.
Right.
I can never go higher than 99.9 on another human. But as high as I can go on Kalen, I would pretty confidently tell you, and I would have told you this Friday, I don't think he's going up there. Now, I thought the statement was going to be released Friday. I was ready for that to happen Friday. So it took a couple of days longer, and I don't want anyone to read anything into that because there are 1,000,001 moving parts that sometimes slow that down. I have known of situations in the past month where athletic director and head coach were adamant, hey, let's make a statement, let's get this out there. And then you've got administrative powers that be on the university's end, or you've got the same thing on the agent side for the coach that drag their feet. And, from the outside, I'm looking at it like, hey, guys, it's up to you. It's not up to them. I'm not even speaking about Alabama there. I'm speaking generically. So I feel pretty comfortable in knowing that situation enough to say I think Michigan will have to look elsewhere. And look, if they want to wait and they want to wait till Bama's season is done, whenever that is, to make him just look them in the eye and say no, so be it. I believe he will if it comes to that. But that's a very attractive job. And I've always just questioned how long they'd really be willing to wait, because I know they got some good candidates that would love to have that thing right now. I'm just kind of interested to see how that plays out outside of Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, no, me too. It's definitely going to be interesting. And then now hearing that they're looking into some investigation stuff, I don't know if that changes some stuff, maybe shies some people away from it. Who knows? But I guess we'll have to see. One last question for you, Josh, before we let you go. Speaking of Kalen DeBoer, we've now seen about 2 years worth, right? At this point, they make the playoffs this year. You got them to the SEC championship, and we knew how that went, but still definitely seeing some progress. What is in your mind? What would be the time frame that you think, because Bama fans, we know the expectations here. Like, we know how high they are. How long do you think he has, Josh, in terms of proving that? We're seeing the progressions that we want to see in year 2, which is great, but you can only imagine next year, now that you made it to the SEC championship this year and got, made it to the playoffs, things are going to be, picking up even more. What do you think is that kind of timetable for a guy like Kalen DeBoer? And I guess, too, do you see him being that guy, able to win a national championship here?
Yeah, I do. It's going to sound crazy. I actually think he's underrated a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Only because I think we still live in a world where Nick Saban is a factor. And at Alabama especially, Nick Saban will always be a factor. If you were to remove Nick Saban, which I know is impossible, but if you were to remove his presence on the current landscape and moving forward, and understanding also when I say that, how different the landscape is now for every coach than it was for Saban even 5 years ago. It was different for Kirby 5 years ago. It was different for Ryan Day 5 years ago. If you applied that logic, Kalen DeBoer is one of the 5 best head coaches in the country, and that's being conservative on that front. And so if you've got him, then you're in a really good position. Now, you can say that, and you can also have like these nitpicks here and nitpicks there, because I have those with every guy too. Sure. I don't think that their roster is fully where he wants it to be yet. Not that they're hurting, like they're recruiting well, they're a destination in the portal, so they'll get it there. But I still look at them as being kind of transformational a little bit, or in a state of change a little bit. And as much as I love Ty Simpson, Keelan Russell is the guy that I sort of will judge Kalen by. Because that's the future of the program. That's the guy who I think they look at and say, that guy is who we're going to hitch our wagon to offensively. We're going to build this team to complement him. Defensively, I don't know how you can be anything other than pleased with what they've been this year. We were talking about those Oklahoma and Georgia games. I mean, think about how many times that defense had its back against the wall in those games and still stood up a little bit. Like, I think from a complimentary perspective, I'm happy with where they're at, but I also think their best days are ahead of them. Look at how many freshmen dotted that team's landscape this year, which means they just hit on a lot of their evals and their recruits. You will continue to say that because you got some of the best in the building, and any building there, at evaling and developing. And so I don't know how long you give them to win a national title, because I think a national title is much more of a crapshoot now than it used to be. Because here's what I'll ask you. Those teams you played on, you could set your watch to dominant line of scrimmage play. You sometimes had it both sides, but you at least had it on one side. Look across college football. Where is the dominant line of scrimmage play? Which team is trotting out dominant game 1 to game 12 line of scrimmage play? Because I'd argue it's not there anywhere. You see it in spurts, but no one's really dominant. And so if you don't have dominant line of scrimmage play anywhere, then to me, that makes the playoffs not quite NFL. Certainly James Madison can't win it all, but it makes it a little more wide open than it used to be, where even when we had 4 teams, you would go into it saying there are 2 teams that can't win this thing.
True. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Yeah, no, I think you're right about that in terms of like the trenches. They do look a lot different. Maybe the talent dispersed. I'm not sure, but that is a good point. I don't know if I can really pick one. I know Oklahoma at times I watch them and I'm like, damn, that's a damn good front that they've got. I mean, Missouri looks solid, but all of those still I feel like would fall like a notch below kind of what you were describing, the 14 through 2020 years at Alabama, right? Or even going back, excuse me, let me not offend anybody before that, maybe 2011, 2010 to about 2020. So yeah, I agree with you. That's a solid point. So I don't know, but I definitely agree that One thing I would, if I did have to say, I would hope, because I feel like our attention with, DeBoer being an offensive guy, we put a lot into these offensive guys, especially when it comes to transfer portal and whatnot. I would love if we targeted and put some money and some NIL money into some of these defensive linemen. I think that's kind of what would help us a little bit more. Defensively, we ended up being a lot better than I think a lot of people anticipated, including myself. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I would love to have some of those nasty D tackles and guys that can not only stop the run but get after the quarterback as well. Because that is one thing we got to get a little bit better at, is rushing the passer. So we'll definitely hopefully be putting some money there. Josh, I appreciate you joining us, man, last minute, and always a pleasure having you on the show. Before we let you go, what's next on your plate? I think you mentioned you will be at the game this Friday for the Alabama-Oklahoma playoff match. Any more calls coming your way anytime soon, or any more shows you got on schedule?
Oh, man, I don't know. I know we got meetings about that this week, so who knows?
Right.
I mean, hey, I came on this show with 10 minutes notice today, so who knows what I'd be capable of. They may just throw something at me this weekend. But, yeah,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
looking really forward to being at that game Friday night. We're going to go out there for Bama, Oklahoma. We're going to go down to College Station for Miami A&M, which is like 12 hours later. So that's going to be a really quick turnaround.
Well, good luck to you. Hey, man, I know it's fun. It's definitely probably got to be a lot, but I know you and Savannah probably enjoy that. And I hope you guys have a great trip to Norman. Hopefully, because you did pick Oklahoma in this one. Hopefully end up being wrong in that one, because I know our listeners are obviously pulling for Alabama, but I think it's going to be a close one, and we'll see how it goes. But big thanks to you, man, joining the show, man, and look forward to talking soon, brother.
Absolutely, Christian. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You too, brother. Good deal. That was our buddy Josh Pate hopping on the show. Big thanks to him again. Last minute, hit him up not long ago, just seeing if he was free this week, and he said, "Hey, let's do it. Let's do it today." And so, big thanks to Josh joining the show. All right, we got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we will keep it on rolling. Make sure you guys stay around, because we got plenty more to talk about right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, good deal. That was cool, man. On the swing, got paid in here. See if y'all had any thoughts on anything. Oh, yeah. If you guys are just stopping in here, man, don't forget to hit that like button, even if you're on the way out because you came to listen to Josh Pate. No worries. Just do us a favor. Just hit that like button if you enjoy the content. Subscribe, all that stuff. It just helps us out. Keeps everything rolling. Keeps supporting the channel, pushing it, and hopefully growing it, because that's how we do it with you guys. Need y'all's help. So make sure you guys, again, share the videos too if you ever are on social media, any platforms. I know we got a lot of people that do that, so big thanks to all y'all. But yeah, man, keep liking, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff, man. The more we grow, the more we can do for you guys. More guests, more interviews, more content, all that good stuff. So yeah, tell Josh if we can win, he can say we still in his national champion pick, so he's right regardless. That's a good point, man. It's a win-win for him. That's solid. Roll Tide, Superfly, what's up? Looks like I joined at the right time. Loving all the guests you've been having recently. Appreciate it, man. Like I said, I mean, you're the one of the guys that always is offering support. Hey, man, I stay true to my word, man. I mean, the more we grow and more all that stuff keeps moving, I'm going to make sure I'm doing my part, man. To put out the best content that we can for you guys. Was Ty invited to the Senior Bowl? I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know if they might be waiting on his decision, and because he still has another year of eligibility, so they might be doing that. Put some money into an offensive coordinator. Oh wow. We got our like supervisor. We'll go ahead and pin that real quick. Hit that like button. Shout out to Dom. Either gonna be crying or happy as hell on Friday. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I will not be crying. I hate to say like this, guys, but like, I can't get to the point where like, I've always been like this, man. Like I can get frustrated with games, but I've never gotten to a point where like I'm like throwing stuff or whatever. Like as a player, a little bit different, and I still want like a hothead, you know what I mean? But where I'm at right now, I'll be honest, man. Like the way I sum it up is, man, like if we lose, we lose. I'm frustrated, but I'm more, I guess, inclined to go back and watch and see what happened. You know what I mean? I've always said this, and I know it might sound bad, but it's like, man, at the end of the day, like I only control what I control. When I was a player, it was a little bit different. I could control a little bit more. Like I was like in it. now, I mean, I can't control it. So, I mean, I can't control if these guys show up ready or not. So I'm not going to overinvest into it emotionally either, you know? That's kind of how I view it, man. I'm not putting because I think sometimes, man, as much as we love the sport and we're passionate about it, I think some people put a little bit too much into it where they're like their whole day and month, week, month, whatever is ruined over an outcome. And I'm like, man, I just can't. I got a lot of other stuff going on. I can't afford to do that. But I know what you mean, though. There definitely could be some fans that are very upset. But we'll see, though. I have a feeling, though, that we're going to play better, given that we've had time to get healthy, time to prep. I think we'll play better. I'm not saying I'm completely confident we just go and, handle business, but I think we'll at least look better than we have, hopefully. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Big thanks to our buddy Josh Pate, who just joined us here on the phone lines. If you guys missed it, don't worry. If you're on the stream, just scroll it on back a little bit. You can catch that. We got started around 11:30, so go back around 25 minutes or so, and you can catch that. If you're watching the rerun, cool. That's perfect. And if you're just joining us, don't worry. Don't go anywhere because we're going to keep it on rolling. We got plenty more to talk about. We'll break down what we just talked about with Josh about, his thoughts on the Oklahoma game. We talked about Coach DeBoer, that whole situation. I know you guys have a number of questions regarding a number of things that have been going on, including what we just talked about. So we'll definitely dive into that here in a moment. And I definitely want to get back onto the conversation about, the statement from Coach DeBoer, which y'all's thoughts are there because we didn't get to finish that before we had Pate join us, which again, he joined us, on the spot, which is really cool. So big shout out to him for doing that. That said, we only got about a minute for this top of the hour break. So before we do that, we mentioned the statement, but I didn't pull it up officially and read it. So let's do that real quick. That way we can kind of set the stage when we come back and get back to the conversation for hour number 2. So here is the statement that was put out from head coach Kalen DeBoer this weekend. He says, "My family and I are very happy in Tuscaloosa and remain extremely grateful for the support of President Mueller, Greg Byrne, the board, and so many others. We have an incredible opportunity in front of us. So my sole focus is on Alabama football and our preparations to play Oklahoma in the college football playoff. I have not spoken and have no interest in speaking with anyone else about any other job. I'm fully committed to this program and look forward to continue as head football coach at the University of Alabama." So that definitely eased a lot of nerves, a lot of Bama fans that were a little concerned about all the rumors and things flying around. So we got that out the way. Now we can lock back in on Oklahoma, which I think is good because I don't know if you guys caught this. This happened after our show, but there was a media period. I think it was Friday when we got off the air. And really, as you could expect, a lot of questions regarding the rumors about Coach DeBoer. You could sense it was becoming a distraction, right? And so it's nice to be able to put this behind us. I know those players and whatnot, even though, like they said in their answers, they weren't really concerned about it. They're focused on playing a football game, right? I mean, they made it to the playoffs. Why worry about that right now? They're setting out to hopefully win a championship. So I think they were fine, but it is good just to officially say, all right, this is here. And then there's talks about an extension. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And they can get to work, which you're doing right now, man. They have practice today. And speaking of that, there will be media availability. I believe today Coach DeBoer will speak to the media like he does on Mondays. Unfortunately, they're pushing it back since, it's, holiday season, right? And people on breaks. So 1 o'clock he will speak. So we won't be able to play it on our show today. You'll definitely probably hear it from the other shows, but we'll run it back tomorrow. We'll discuss it, break it down, all that good stuff. But first, we're going to hit the top of the hour break right here. When we come back, we keep on rolling. The phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. We got plenty to talk about right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
WTBC time.
All right. Hour number 2 is about to be underway. We'll get rolling fast. We got Smitty on the phone lines. Plus, I want to get y'all's thoughts again on the all of the conversations with the whole extension and stuff. So we'll do that here in a minute. Hayes in the barn, 13 games in. If Bama can duplicate the last OU game without the turnovers, they move on and play Indiana. Yeah, and we'll talk about this. Keith, you look at it, man. I mean, matter of fact, I can pull it up. I think Clint with Cover Crimson had posted the numbers comparing or maybe I'm thinking about something else. Regardless, I mean, Alabama, I mean, we outgained them. I think we had, 400 total yards, almost 300 or so. No, 300, 300 plus through the air. I think we ended up with like 80 something. That's, with the sacks negated. So, 80 something total yards. So, I mean, we moved the ball, and I'm going to pull up the tape because I want to go back and watch and see like what we were doing that gave us success that we need to look to try to do again and what we might need to stay away from in this game. My only concern is I know this is how I'll put it. I think Josh, he said this when he was on here, and I'm glad he said this. I think some people you'll hear have the perspective that just say, oh, we just don't have those turnovers. It's a different ball game. And while that is true, I think it's important to understand like what Josh said and what I said. I mean, my immediate reaction to the game. Those were not fluke turnovers. Those were forced turnovers. And we did a breakdown here on the show. We talked about and we literally watched those turnovers. We talked about the pick six that tied through, right? I mean, they had a nice disguise. That safety, right? First of all, it was a simulated pressure. They got what they wanted up front, right? Because, again, that's what simulated pressures are. I had to do a breakdown. Could you believe this guy's had to do a breakdown on Twitter because somebody was like, oh, Tim Keenan's dropping in coverage. So I had to explain, listen, it's a simulated pressure. It's meant to show a bunch of guys. You only end up rushing about 4 guys, and then guys are popping out, dropping underneath windows, cutting players. And long story short, that pick six was a forced interception. That wasn't like, oh, Ty just threw a bad ball or necessarily made a bad. They got what they wanted up front, meaning that the reason that guy came free, they only brought 4 players, but they confused the offense. So that, again, that's literally what you do on a simulated pressure. You confuse the blocking scheme up front, right? Because you're not bringing that many people. You just show that. So you mess up their count. And then you drop out. So last minute, that quarterback, it messes with his reads because he had one picture pre-snap. Then post-snap is totally different. That's exactly what Oklahoma did on that pick six, and that safety did a hell of a job breaking on that football. I think it was the corner that initially kind of broke, and then the safety ended up right there to make the play. So that's a forced turnover, guys. That's not like just some, Ty made a bad decision. He had pressure in his face and had to get rid of it. Now, we could argue, yes, just take the sack there. Like the teaching point would say, hey, you saw what happened last time you tried to force it thinking you had that slant window there, it wasn't there. If it's a win for them, it's a win for them. Just take the sack. A sack is better than 6 points for them. However, it still was a forced turnover. And then you look at the sack forced fumble. I mean, the dude had a nice cross chop off the edge. I mean, that's force. You know what I mean? Like the punch out on special teams. Those aren't like a guy just made a bad decision. So while we need to clean up the turnovers. We need to clean up our play because our play is what led to those turnovers because they forced them. That's my only point about that. And we'll dive more into that, and I'll pull up the tape again. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. It's Oklahoma week, Chase. All our listeners out there, it's time. It's game week, man. We're back at it. Had a week off last week. It was nice. We had a lot of guests. We had fun. But, hey, now we're locked back in. We're ready to break down this Oklahoma matchup. We'll do some more of that. We just were talking about that during the break. We had Josh Pate join us, hour number 1. If you guys are just tuning in, you can go back and listen to that if you like here on the stream or wherever you get your podcasts and stuff from, Spotify, Apple Music, all that. It will be uploaded. But Josh made a point, right? I mean, look at Alabama in this last game. They outgained Oklahoma. I think we had like 400 yards. I pulled the box score. And defense did a nice job. The only touchdown they scored really was, after the fumble we had on Ryan Williams fumbled the ball on punt return. There was a short field, which is a common theme. Remember this, guys. We keep talking about this. Is important. Field position. Our field position battle we've been losing the field position battle a lot, and it's caused a lot of issues. That said, Mateer has that quarterback run. He breaks tackles, right? We know it was a bad play defensively. They scored a touchdown. Outside of that, defense did their thing, and offense was doing a pretty decent job. But the turnovers, and I just was explaining to our listeners here on the stream during the break that it's easier said than done. It's easy to say, oh, just get rid of those turnovers, and it's a different game. But when you turn on the tape, just like Josh said, and like we were saying, immediately after, those were forced turnovers. So It's not like, oh man, we just need better ball security. Like, yes, that is part of it, but you got to remember, I mean, they're also not just punching the ball out. They're showing disguises. They're bringing heat. They're forcing those things. If you go back and watch any of really the last two Oklahoma games, hell, even go watch SEC Championship, man. Those are like defensive, like damn master classes put on by Kirby and Brant Venables. So I'm just going to be straight up and say this, man. We need Ryan Grubb to step up in this game, because the last few times, and I'm just being honest here, the last few times we have played against, I would say really good defenses, borderline elite defenses, we have been not only outplayed, but we've been outcoached. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. If you turn on the tape, we've been outcoached by some of these better defensive coordinators. And to me, I mean, I feel like it's important to note. I mean, it's a challenge to Ryan Grubb. He's got an opportunity to go out and write that. But SEC Championship, I'm just going to be honest with you, we got outcoached, man. Our offense, I mean, we didn't execute great, but if you go back and look at just like the flow of the game, the play calling, just our lack of preparedness, I mean, we got outcoached. So definitely something to consider. 205-342-9904 is the number to the phone lines. We're going to get to that right after we get an app message, because, again, you guys can do that. Download that Tide 100.9 app. You can literally leave a message right there if you guys aren't on the stream, if you're listening via radio, via the app. But let me hit one app message first, because we got this in earlier. It's from Tia. She says, first off, congrats to Chase for graduating. Shout out Chase, our producer. He graduated this past weekend. Damn those cowbells, however, Mississippi State grad. Shout out to Chase. In regard to Kalen DeBoer and the contract extension talks, that's a damn good agent. The public fans freaking out. Former players saying KD's job is on the line were great leverage for an agent to use. If I were the AD, I would call his bluff, however. I see fans asking, who will we get? Honestly, I think Alabama could find a serviceable replacement. But at the end of the day, if the fans want it, give them the extension. They're the ones who ultimately will be paying for it. Man, that's a lot to unpack here. Let's talk about that real quick, Chase, because we talked a little bit about the extension thing earlier. I do feel like, yes, it's definitely a leverage type deal. And I'm not saying Coach DeBoer himself. It's like Tia said. I mean, the agent is responsible for doing all this. It's not like Coach DeBoer sitting back like, oh, yeah, let's do this. No, the agent, that's his job, right? So, and I'm not, does he have the same agent as everybody else in Jimmy Sexton? I'm not 100% sure. I think he does have Jimmy Sexton, but that's what agents do as part of it. I'll just say this. I do agree with what Tia's saying in terms of not necessarily calling the bluff of the agent, but just saying like, hey, man, like at the end of the day, it's what I was saying earlier. Alabama fans that are, being a little emotional and eager right now with this kind of stuff, they have to understand, man, don't forget who we are as well. I compare it to saying, like, people always talk about, like, knowing your worth. Guys, I mean, this is the University of Alabama. Like, I'm not – and, again, we're not saying, oh, right now. I get it. Right now, there's been so many names that have been hired, all this stuff. I'm not saying right now, but best believe, say, like a year down the road, if or 2 years, 3 or whatever, if something were to happen and this job opened up, best believe you don't think we could also go poach another coach? You don't think any other coaches would? That would be my only argument to people who make it seem like, oh man, the sky would be like, what would we do if he just happened to leave? Like, which again, he's not leaving. I've already said I don't even anticipate him leaving. I said that last week. But if worse come to worse, because I just like talking in hypotheticals, you guys got to remember, man, this is literally Alabama. Like, what coach would turn down the Alabama job unless they just flat out were scared of the heat? You know what I'm saying? Again, I get the initial kind of, all right, I don't know if I want to follow up Coach Saban because I know how those expectations are going to be. But after that, man, and maybe I just have a lot of pride in our brand, our school, and what this program is and how it was built. But I don't know. Me personally, I don't have that same mindset people have kind of showed recently. Like, oh, man, no, what are we? No, man, this is Alabama, brother. Can't forget that. Can't forget who you are. Can't forget about this A right here that's on my polo right here. That being said, 205-342-9904. Let's go to the phone lines. We got Smitty up next. Smitty, welcome in.
How's it going, Christian?
It's good, man. First off, tell me what you thought about Cena's last match, man. Chase said we hadn't talked about this either, so we can get a little wrestling talking real quick.
Yeah. Hey, first, Obafemi showed out. He was beating the heck out of Cody, man.
Yes,
that's what
sir.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
Former Bama thrower. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, he made Drew McIntyre look small. You know how big you got to be for that.
Yeah, true.
But I had no issues with Gunther winning. I had no issues how it ended because if you look deeper, it was like, hey, I could finally let go. I'm at peace. And like that. But the cool thing was, because I'm 47, so I was watching wrestling in the 80s and stuff. That reminded me of the territory days when Gunther had to walk back to the bus security because folks were ready to jack him up. He's yelling at kids, told the kid he ain't civilized. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Real heat is back.
Yeah, they weren't going for that, bro. They were not going for that.
But and I was glad like the young cats were showing out that night too. And I really loved that. And you know, and I thought that it was a fun show because I don't take that stuff too seriously. I'm like, I just want to be entertained, man. Because that's how I look at it, you know. But like, if folks are getting mad and throwing stuff because of scripted entertainment, I wonder where they were at when Thanos won at the end of Avengers Infinity War. You know,
True.
You know. But when it comes to Alabama, I think like I've got tweeted you this that DeBoer I think part of the renegotiation will be not necessarily more money, but they got to add some more dollars to that buyout if another team poaches him. Because hey, if he does decide to leave one day, you need to give us some more money. Because that's why Dan Lanning's not leaving Oregon. One, it's no real pressure and you got support, but his buyout like figure like $30-40 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot when you got to fire your coach depending on where you at, pay his buyout, hire him and his staff. That's a lot of fun, you know, and people ain't thinking that. But I think that if he cleaned that up, he's fine because I think he's the right guy for the job. And I know Damian Harris punched a hole in his wall when he found out Kalen DeBoer not leaving.
Oh, we got to break that video down too. We got to break that video down here in a minute. But no, listen, people think Damian like does not like DeBoer, the program. I promise you he doesn't. I've talked to Damian, man. I mean, literally, like I've even talked to Damian about some of these takes. I'm just going to say this, man. I mean, he definitely is animated and he leans real heavy into what he says. But what's funny is low key, really, and I think Mike Johnson tweeted this, like a number of things he says that some people just get frustrated as soon as he opens his mouth now. Listen, there's some truth into a number of things he says. Now, this last take, he definitely went way too extreme. That's why I tweeted him. Like, there's no way you'd even think Coach DeBoer's job is online. I mean, like, that way too extreme. But, and I'll break this down in a minute. I think when people hear like a former Bama player and it sounds like a critique or whatever, and they're talking about like the standard stuff, what I heard was he's referencing. He mentioned Oklahoma, and he mentioned, you know, if you lose 3 times to Oklahoma, the way I heard that was, all right, you got Coach DeBoer, who's an offensive-minded guy going against the Oklahoma team who's led by a defensive-minded guy. And the last 2 times, you know, we played them defensively, you know, they dominated us. So, you know, our offense, we got dominated is what I'm getting at. So he's, you know, mentioned that. And then also Damian was kind of pointing out the fact that like the putting this team in a chokehold and saying we need to play to this standard. Ironically, and I think people just are so mad at what he was saying because how he started it. If you really think about it, how many times have people called this show or left comments and made statements about why aren't we dominating teams? Why aren't we pulling away? And people complaining about that. I think Damian literally that's what he was referencing. But because he started the statement so strong about the job being online, which was way too extreme. That's not the case at all. People immediately kind of were checking out. But I heard what he was saying, and I'm like, to be fair, that's what he meant by a lot of fans say that kind of stuff. I'm not saying they go as far as half the stuff he's saying, but that part, I even though I always say, I mean, a win is a win, but I also understand, you know, critiquing things that could be better. But I do remember there's a lot of fans that do complain about that, and I think that's kind of what he was referencing in terms of playing to that standard and really putting this team in that position. So I see both sides of it.
And the thing is about pulling away, the answer is simple, people. We can't run the football. It's that simple. That's because I know everybody heard of something called a 4-minute offense.
Yep, talk about all the time on this show.
If you can't run the football, how are you going to pull away from folks unless they turn the ball over? Because you can't, because a pass, if you drop the pass or incompletion, a sack kills a drive. So my thing is, if you can't run the ball, it's hard to pull away because look at Georgia. Georgia did not have gas runs against us this last game. They just were able to keep going forward, and their quarterback ran too.
And they also had field
the
position that was, literally.
I was about to say that also.
Yeah, I was about to say their field position. 3 out of 4 of their scores, I think, were like on our side of the field. So we've got to find a way to clean that up. The field position battle. Honestly, the way these teams are beating us right now, they're not even really doing these. They don't have these explosive offensive games or putting up all these points. If you really pay attention to it, it's almost just a matter of good field position, almost playing conservative, trying to keep the football away a little bit, and really just doing just enough to beat us. And I think that's what's frustrating right now.
And let's be real, our punter is not bad. He is that when you're so far back, you can only punt the ball so far. He's not terrible. And I think this is where running game comes in. It's not about like the yard. It's about, hey, in that Oklahoma game, there were holes there. The backs got to see them also.
True.
So it's a group effort. The wide receivers actually have to be physical and block. That has to be there also. And Josh Cuevas, all these people, like all these soft West Coast guys, now everybody's crying for him to come back. And Parker Brailsford, the reason his issues is so hurting this team is because this, Christian. If offensive lineman can't move laterally because of injuries, he's food. You're looking forward to that guy. You're seeing him, And when Josh Payton was talking about the roster, look at how many true freshmen had to play because they didn't have a junior or even a redshirt sophomore as a backup who's good enough to go. Because I've never really seen true freshmen being the number 2 and number 3 tight ends. Usually they're a little older because of the strength difference. But I just think that there's a blessing in disguise when these guys are getting a lot of experience as well under fire. But I do think you said, field position is key. Yep. You can't turn the ball over. You're gonna have to get some drives in there because we could talk about the offensive line. And I always said, be careful of Norton Grubb. Ty has to make the plays that are there. He has to hit those throws. And with Grubb also, and I said it a long time ago, offensive coordinators are actually some of the most stubborn coaches on the staff. Let's just be real.
Yeah, we're seeing that.
Sometimes you have to say, this ain't going to work today. Let's try this. Because defensive coaches, all coaches know your tendencies, know how you operate. If they know, oh, man, he's still going to try to do these long development plays, and we're going to send 7 people, and you're going to block so many people, they know this. So I'm not even saying a trick play. Maybe some quicker pass, some easier passes to get Ty in a rhythm where his eyes aren't as big as saucers halfway through the first quarter. You got to help your guy out as well. And I'll say this last thing. Everybody loved bashing Nick Sheridan, but he crafted an offense for the quarterback strengths with his run game, and he turned out to be the best runner on the team. And the one thing I give the guy last year credit on, he actually threw 50-50 balls, and that's why I criticize Tyon. If you want a one defender, throw a 50-50 ball, but it's up to those wide receivers also to make a tough contested catch to help your quarterback.
Absolutely.
And I think that those are some things. But I know you got to run, but thanks for taking my call. And shout out to your Panthers for helping my Bucks out yesterday. Have a good one, Christian.
Come on, Smitty. Hey, you too, brother. Appreciate you calling in, man. Good to hear from you. Hey, man, a lot of good stuff from Smitty. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll respond to it. We'll talk a little bit about what he said and more right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. If you're just joining in, don't go anywhere. We got plenty more coming at you right after this quick timeout. All right, good deal. We got a bunch of people hanging in here, though. What's up, man? Welcome in. Good work, though, Christian. Solid work with how you do media. I played for Missouri, not a fan. That boy Damian Harris, the greenest ever. I'll be talking to former current players, not fans. They think he's lame. Yeah, listen, like I said, I'm not defending what he says. I mean, Damian's, we're co-captains together, right? Obviously, I'm close with him. And I just, like I said, the way I see it is, listen, in media, Roman said it best, and Roman Harper, he'll be on the show this this week. I'm anticipating, but it's about look at Jamie in the back. Look at Jamie in the back trying to get him in a Freebird rep, forklift. We call that forklift or a Freebird. Hey, look at Jamie trying to relive our days back there working some pass. Hold on. Jamie was my roommate in college, but hold on. Coach Mosley, look at this dude. All right, coach. Get some cleats on now. Get some cleats, coach. You're going to be doing them reps. Get some cleats, coach. That's my guy. That's my dog. That's my brother for real. But no, this is what I'll say. Rayola hit the portal. Damn. Now, in media, man, it's about entertaining, and people, they love, like, the former player thing right now is big because people love the experience, the breakdowns, all that stuff, right? And Damian, he leans heavy into the entertainment piece, like that shock factor, right? I mean, it gets the clicks, the impressions. I talk to him. I mean, I understand how this works. I do think some of what he says, like, basically his points, he just takes them to the extreme, right? That's how I view it. I think he takes it way to the extreme. But my thing is, man, look, I believe in free speech. I believe in letting people pick and choose how they go about it. Just like I prefer. It's just my choice. I prefer, like, I'm going to be honest when I break stuff down. Why? Because that's my reputation, and I'm breaking football down. Like, if we have a bad game, we have a bad game. But I'm not going to ever. I will break stuff down, but I will never criticize. Right? Like, I might be a little critical, and I don't even like using the word critical. 'Cause I'm never like too critical. I'm always very thoughtful of how do I explain it. Oh, there we go. We got a video of some guy hunting in Africa. Like, I try to be thoughtful of, like, how I word things, right? Like, for example, like, my dad, like, he's kind of a little more on Damian's side where he's just going to say whatever comes to his mind. Versus me, like, if our offensive line performs bad, like, my dad might be like, offensive line stunk. He might use, some wording like that. I wouldn't do that. I would just say our offensive line struggled. See, like, that's how I try to do it. But again, to each his own. Everybody goes about it the way they go about it. So I just hate it because what's the problem is right now, though, is I'm seeing people starting to lump all these former players in the category, and people are saying, "Oh, this is a thing with former players now, and Coach Saban's players, they're salty, they're this, they don't this," and it's kind of unfortunate people are like generalizing like that because I'm like, I get it, Damian, some of the other guys on the national scene, you know what I mean, like, it's going to grab a lot more attention, but I hate it because I'm like, bro. Not everybody's doing that. And then what happens is if they hear you say one thing that sounds critical, but you're just doing a breakdown, you're just being honest, they lump you in that category now. And I don't think that's fair because I'll be honest. I mean, like, nothing I say or do, like, there's no intentions coming, like, from me being bitter, salty. I've heard people try to say, "Oh, well, they didn't, do what they wanted to do." I'm like, yeah, nothing has anything to do with anything. I think, like, we just look at it from a player perspective, and some people lean heavy into, being real honest, whatever. Me personally, like I said, I try to be honest, but also try to be respectful. But,
again, that's Brian.
Anyway, but I appreciate the compliment, brother. Remember how last year Jam used to lead block for Milroy? Let's try that with Jam and Hill. You mean like a 2-back set? Try to get like a wildcat? Listen, I think at this point, man, I mean, I don't think we have the guys to run the ball exactly the way we want to. So I just think you need to just stick with the extensions that we had been seeing earlier on in the year. But also, I'm not saying, but still, you need to still commit to the running game, but just lean into what's working. Pin and pull seems to work well for us. Running between the tackles with all that gap scheme, we don't run gap scheme great. That's just a fact. You know what I mean? So I think you just need to lean into things that do work. But one of my issues is I do feel like, this is how I'll put it. The reason, like, I've been using the word stubborn a little bit, like, I agreed at least with Smitty on, the coordinator being a little stubborn, is that we got outcoached, man. The fact that Georgia had a similar game plan to Oklahoma where they, played everything deep to short, took away all the deep stuff, and we still didn't adjust to that. We wanted to stick with what we wanted to do and not say, hey, man, this is what they're giving us. That to me is, because I'm like, it's either two things, either being stubborn or it's being like, he doesn't know better. And this dude gets paid a lot of money. He's a good coach. He knows better. So that's the one thing that's bothering me right now, this offense. And welcome back into the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. All right, we got some practice footage up here on the screen right now. Looks like they're in the indoor. Kind of curious why, man. Chase, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of wondering some things, man, because we look out the window we got here. It's a sunny day. Now it is cold as hell. It is about 30-something degrees. The last time I checked, man, Norman, Oklahoma, that's an outdoor stadium. We're in the indoor, man. Maybe we're just warming up. Listen, I hope we're not in the indoor because it's cold outside. I'm just going to say that. I really hope that's not why we're practicing in the indoor. Hopefully they're doing some work on the grass or something. I don't know. But I really hope we're not in the indoor because it's cold. Because we're going to be playing Friday in the evening in Norman, Oklahoma, and it's probably going to be pretty damn cold. I mean, Jim Nagy, a buddy of ours who's a general manager for Oklahoma, he just posted a picture of snow like last week. Look at Chat walking across. So, listen, I don't know. But anyway, they're getting some work in. You can see it right here on the screen. We got quarterbacks making some throws in a drill right here. Chase, I got a question, man. Where do we go from here? Because we can either start leaning more into the Oklahoma matchup, because I definitely want to do that, or I know we had somebody brought up the Damian Harris thing. I want to at least just play that clip and respond to it and get y'all's response. So, I mean, what direction should we go, man? I mean, or do you think people are going to freak out if we play the clip to respond to it? Because I know people are mad about it, but I do want to just listen to it and then get everybody's current ideas. I saw all the all the reactions on social media, but I'm curious for our listeners, man. Flip a coin, Chase. Which way are you leaning, man?
Let's go with Damian Harris.
Let's
think
get it out the way.
some resolved issues. A lot of people are not really happy with Damian, and I'm curious because I didn't see the clip, so I want to see what everybody's talking about. If that's
Yeah.
okay.
No, listen, no, that's perfectly fine. Let's get out of the way, because people are going to have some feelings on this, and I know they're going to be upset. They're probably going to get mad at me just for relaying it and going to be saying, "Why are you playing that crap?" Listen, man, it's sports media, man. I mean, listen, he made a statement. There's a lot of people talking about it. We haven't got a chance to respond to it. And I'm just curious what our listeners think. I saw social media's reaction, so let's play this clip. This is former Alabama running back, my co-captain here in 2018, who does work with CBS. Right, this is him talking about Alabama and what he thought would be the case this Friday. Now, again, this was before the statement was put out and all that stuff. So this is what Damian's assessment of the expectations for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama this Friday.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think his job is on the line with this game, Akeem. And I think that there's a lot of reasons why. One, we've seen how hard it is to beat a team twice in college football. And if we look at this Alabama team and we say you showed no improvement from the first time you played Oklahoma to the second time, you weren't able to make adjustments to flip the script of that game, and you can't win that football game. Luckily, getting into the playoffs, that's going to be a problem.
So I'm just going to stop. I want to do it like this, where you just break down each thing so we don't forget. So that was the first thing he made, or the first statement he made. If you get a third loss to Oklahoma in the span of 2 years, especially given how the last two went, he said he thinks that could be a problem. I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. I could see there being some frustration from people if you do lose to Oklahoma a third time in 2 years in a similar fashion. The reason I say similar fashion, because remember how the first one went. We go on the road there. I know there's a bunch of turnovers. We got pretty much beat down in that game. They come to Tuscaloosa. We didn't get beat down, but they did a good job, forcing those turnovers. And I would argue that we got out-coached defensively a little bit. Their defense. Offensively, we got out-coached a little bit. Their defense is what I'm saying. You guys get what I'm saying. I hear what he's saying on that point. Let's continue.
First round exit after missing the playoffs last year. Listen, this isn't the tradition. This isn't the history that Alabama fans are used to. This isn't the standard of excellence that is used to being had in Tuscaloosa.
Now that to me is a little bit too far. And the reason I say that is, all right, last year we missed the playoffs, 3 losses. It was Coach DeBoer's first year. I mean, I think anybody would have expected, right? Like, first year could be a hit or miss, meaning like, hey, we could pick up where we left off and make a trip and do great, or there's a chance we take a little bit of a step back, given it's the new guy's first year. He's trying to, get acclimated, whatnot. And then this year, making the playoffs, hell, I mean, that's still a step up. And not to mention making the SEC championship game. Now, the game itself, we played very poorly. We got our ass whooped. But we still finished, as the number one seed in the conference and made the trip there when a lot of other teams, other good football teams in the SEC weren't. So I do think Damien kind of downplays that part here. And I don't agree with saying like, oh, well, if you lose in the first round, I mean, there still is progress. Year one to year two, that's clear progress. And in this day and age with the gauntlet of a schedule that we had, knowing, the parity in the sport, I think you do need to, recognize that. And that's not just some easy feat.
The University of Alabama, and people are still talking about that. And the third thing for me is everybody, myself included, but a lot of Alabama fans are sitting here and waiting for Kalen DeBoer to essentially put a chokehold on this team and basically say, this is the way that we need to do things. We haven't lived up to the standard yet. And now is the time to do it because we were given an opportunity to still play for a national championship. Although we have not played to our best standard over the past 4 weeks, we are still gifted an opportunity. Now we get to go out and compete for a national championship.
Okay, I'll be honest. I understand what he's getting at here. Again, he's just saying putting that stamp on it to really take command. If I'm being completely honest with you again, and this is, I know all those people in that building, I'm up there all the time. I'm just going to be honest. Last year, we were a little too soft on those guys. I'm not saying I'm not a coach, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, there's some guys, showing up late. The level of respect wasn't where it needed to be. That, again, you guys can argue me all you want, but I'm just telling you literally what the situation was. This year's been much better. And I think that's why you're seeing a different result. Coach DeBoer, and you heard Chris Lowe and other people that are familiar with the situation. He's adapted. Listen to the players. They've talked about it. He's changed, his stance, his approach, right? He's not afraid to, speak up, be more vocal, get on guys. But in terms of what Damien's saying, it's kind of talking about some of the things like some of the games we've seen where guys just, don't always seem like they're responding how I think they probably should. I think there still is a little bit of room for growth in that aspect. So I do understand that if you're going to nitpick about playing to that standard, right, in terms of getting your guys out there ready to play with that mindset, with that edge, with that intensity. So I kind of understand what he's saying right there.
If you can't do these things, I know it's year two. I know we're talking about we need to give coaches time, but when we're talking about the University of Alabama and the legacy that needs to be set and needs to be left, and Kalen DeBoer needs to put his own DNA on that. We're not seeing that right now. We're seeing a team that's full of a lot of potential, has a lot of talent. They have a lot of resources, but they just haven't lived up to the billing quite yet during the Kalen DeBoer tenure.
Let me ask you this, Chase. I mean, what do you think about that? He says that there's a team full of potential that hadn't lived up to the billing quite yet. I mean, if you look at it, again, we just talked about what they did from year one to year two. But we also, I think, can all agree. I mean, because, again, I've heard a lot of fans mention this. Like, we're not, like, beating teams down or whatnot. There definitely is some left in the tank. Hell, we just had Nakai Hill-Green on the show. He said that. I mean, they know as a team there's an extra gear. So that's not completely off on what he's saying in terms of they haven't fully hit that full gear. I would argue, I mean, if you really think about it, there's only been maybe a couple games that I feel like we really played a full, complete game. Think about it. How many times have we come on this show that we've said, like, man, we feel like we played a full, complete game in all three phases? Not too many times, and that's not a knock. That's just, to me, I think that's just an observation. So what I'm getting at is there's still a lot. There's some meat on the bone that we can get out of these guys, and I do agree. But I just think he takes it way too far when he starts talking about the job. So let's continue.
And I know people think guys like me and AJ, we're just talking out the side of our necks when we get in front of a camera. These are the same things that Alabama fans say to each other. They just don't like when our dirty laundry gets aired out to the public. I get that. I understand that. Everything I'm sitting here saying is the same conversation that people in Tuscaloosa are having. People all over the country that are Alabama fans, they're having the same conversations. So with all that being said, Hakeem, I think Kalen DeBoer's job, it'll be in a little bit of jeopardy going into the next season if they don't win this football game.
So obviously that's where he flew off the rails here, right? That's where he flew off the rails. If you go back and listen, right when we were just breaking down those little points, to be fair, I mean, there's some small truths in some of the stuff that he's saying, right? I think people can agree on that. I think that's kind of where he was trying to lean into. but then it went way off the rails. That's how I heard it, Chase. I mean, how about you? Because again, like looking at some of these games, I mean, like how many times have we come on this show, Chase, and we've had Alabama fans call in or leave messages, chat messages here and complain about some of those things that he's talking about, maybe not playing, up to our full potential or not, really pulling away from teams, stuff like that. And remember, I mean, to be fair, and I think this is a fair observation or whatever you want to call it. When we hired Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, I mean, the big point was, hey, man, they came from Washington where they put up all these points, number one, passing offense, scoring offense. And to be fair, I feel like through 2 years this far, and I know this is the first year, or second year with these guys, first year with the Grubb, and then you got a new quarterback again. And I agree with Pate. I think Keelan Russell probably is the guy they're really going to hitch the wagon to, as his words. But I would just say through 2 years, I have been a little underwhelmed in terms of our offensive play. Now, again, we just heard the playback of Damian saying, and people hear me saying that, and people probably going to get upset that I said that. But if you really are honest with yourself, I think anybody would probably agree if you base it off of the expectations you had when we initially made the hire in terms of what they did at previous stops offensively. I would just argue we hadn't seen those results just yet. Not saying they won't come, because I do think it should get better the longer that they're here, the more players that fit their style of play get in here, whether it's Keelan Russell, maybe the offensive lineman being a little bit more agile, right? Guys that can, play better in space, since we do a lot more zone and pin and pull, things that require pulls and playing a little bit more in space as offensive lineman. I don't know. I do think it gets better, but I don't think that's far off to say, unless people are just getting emotional, that the offense hadn't necessarily looked like what we probably thought it would have looked like when we made the hire, especially with Grubb coming back this season. Year one, it was like, okay, you got Nick Sheridan. Jalen Milroe's not a great fit. But year two, you have the coordinator that was originally supposed to come, and you have a quarterback that's a little bit better of a fit for this system. To me, I think there's still, more to be seen. And I think that's very fair. But like I said, I think, unfortunately, Damian is kind of, again, some truth into what he's saying for sure. I think we all can agree there. But then it kind of goes off the rails. That's that's how I interpret it. How about you, Chase?
I think it's interesting that the kitchen is on fire from what I watched. And I think it's a good problem to have to discuss these things, because it could be a point where we're okay with what we've been seeing. We're okay with the mediocrity. We're okay with barely getting by, But I think with Damian's point, like the first point he said that, not being able to beat Oklahoma 3 times is a problem. I see that, but let's look at Oklahoma last year, right? You had Jackson Arnold. You had a fired up defense that, I'm going to be honest with you, was very disrespected, because a lot of people thought Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams, and so many others was going to run wild down in Norman. They didn't like that. They responded, did what they had to do, and got the win. This year, right, down in Tuscaloosa, you have to understand that John Mateer was playing out of his mind the first half of the season. If it wasn't for that injury, I think he would have won the Heisman. I think he would have taken it by far. And the way he was able to move the ball, especially coming from Washington State, facing those types of defenses, which was pathetic, all the way to now the SEC defenses, and be able to really change the way he's able to play. I think that's very, very noticeable, and that should have been looked into. And then you're asking this third game going down. You just saw the footage of practice. They're inside a dome. They're going into a snow environment where obviously it gets very tricky and gets very loopy with weather conditions. So that's why I'm kind of like scratching my head with Damian's point on that. And then honestly, with trying to say that DeBoer has kind of lost the team a little bit, let's just be honest here. He's taken a team that was once graced by the GOAT, Nick Saban. That is impossible to turn around and be like, oh, well, we're the number one team in the country off rip. There was so much transition from last year. You said it with the offensive coordinators, from the quarterbacks. We were questioning the defense last year. Now with Ryan Grubb, and everything's not clicking. So I guess to kind of put a bow on it, Christian, like if it wasn't for Kalen DeBoer and we had another coach in, do you think we would still have the same questions, the same like, well, okay, well, if this isn't clicking, what's going on here? Or it's just because it's the standard and winning is the ultimate, like there's nothing above it. Because I fear any other coach we get, it's going to be the same turnover every year. If this isn't happening by this date, this month, then it's like we're going to fire him next month. Like I feel like that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not the mentality I was given, especially what comes with that whole process. You don't want to be in a situation where you're just quick to let people go and whatnot. To answer your question on do I think stuff would still be questioned, I think it just depends. Again, well, when I look at Kalen DeBoer and the job that he's done, I think it's about as good as you could expect in this day and age. I say when we first hired the guy, I sat on the show and I told people, I said, I think people have to probably readjust expectations. Not saying I didn't believe in him, but just the fact that, listen, in this day and age in college football, it's a lot different. And the new standard, the standard once was, one loss. Because remember, in the 14 playoff, you only could afford to lose one time if you really wanted to make the 14 playoff. Now you've got an expanded playoff. Teams are better. You can afford to lose 2 games. I think the new standard is, hey, lose no more than 2 games and get your team in the college football playoffs. And I personally think that's probably about as good as it, not as good as it gets, but you get what I'm saying. And I said, to me, if you even could get similar production out of Kalen DeBoer as the likes of like a Ryan Day who took over for Urban, at Ohio State, I personally think you should be happy with that, because as long as your team is consistently in that picture, competing for the conference championships, making the playoff bid and making runs, I think that's really about what you'd expect. But I think sometimes, people do hang on to the standard that some of the teams I played on set, some of the teams before me and then after me. And unfortunately, it is different. But one thing that does bother me is when people make it seem like, people don't understand how college football has changed. Well, I do, and I just made that point. Feel like, yes, there's more parity and things have changed. I do think there is a point where some people just start, wouldn't say call it an excuse, but when we mention like the standard or plan to a certain thing, some of that is not contributed just to, now there's more parity. Some of that is, regardless of parity, I think people forget we've got really good football players. I mean, people brag about the recruiting class still being at the top, but then when things aren't going well, they talk about, how much more parity there is. And while there is parity, don't make it seem like we fell off and other teams bumped up, because I would argue, we've stayed consistent in terms of how we recruit the players that we get. People make it seem like we don't hit the portal and don't benefit it from ourselves. I disagree when it comes to that. I personally, there's times, for example, like Florida State, yes, Florida State was a much better football team this year around because of the portal, so I understand that piece. But don't get it misconstrued. We still play like trash. 2 things can be true. So I think what you're seeing is sometimes when people bring up standard or how we're playing, they're talking about how things really transpire throughout the game from a football perspective. And again, I think that's true. Just like we break down the struggles with the offense, to me, that has nothing to do with necessarily the parity or I guess you're going against better defenses a little bit more consistently, maybe. But to me, I still think we should be able to run the football way better than we're running now, regardless if a team has better guys up front. Because right now, the way we're running is below average. It's not even average. That falls back on the execution and the lack of what they're saying, like the standard and playing to a certain level. So again, I think it really, 2 things can be true. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think sometimes some people lean way too far this direction. Other people lean way too far in the other direction. I think at the end of the day, it always falls somewhere in the middle. I think that's what it boils down to, though. But anyway, I'm glad we could break that down. I'm curious what you guys, think about that whole deal and even, our thoughts on it, what we were saying about it. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll keep on rolling. We'll get y'all's thoughts and see Wyatt is with us. So Wyatt, when I'll let you respond when we come back, because I know I kind of jumped over a break, so I don't want to have Chase having to play the catch up too bad. But when we come back, we got Wyatt with us too, so we'll let him respond to it as well, right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
Your flags.
Let's see. I think it would be fair to judge our offense after next year, his quarterback, most of the players in place. And I do agree that be patient before you give like a final grade. But again, it's one of those situations where I see both sides, right? While yes, we still should let them get more of their own players in, we also said, including myself, hey, I get it. Last year, Jalen, as great as an athlete as he was, and we know the playmaker that he was, again, why he was one of the biggest, pieces in the running game. Now, not you guys, but now the people that didn't listen to us, now they understand that fact. He probably wasn't the ideal, prototypical quarterback for this system. That's a very fair point. I totally understand systems and play. Just like I was a 3-4 outside linebacker, I would not have been a great fit in a team that, based out of a, nickel thing, pretty much based out of nickel, because I would have been forced to play a true, defensive end, hand in the dirt. That's not a great fit for me. I was a lighter guy. I needed to be able to play in space off the ball. So I get fit. That said, we also said, all right, this year you got Ty Simpson, right? He's a better fit for this system. And we saw that. We did see, it working pretty well at one point. But I'd also argue that, I feel like at some point, Arthur, people are going to keep saying, oh, well, wait till this. But to be fair, I'm with you. I think after 3 or 4 years, once they've had time to get their own guys in and everything, then you can have a better idea and grade completely, what you've gotten. So I agree with that, but also think, it's not too early to start forming some opinions because, again, you got Grubb back and you got a quarterback that's a better fit. And for whatever reason, the offense, the numbers aren't as good as they were the year prior in a number of categories. And to me, I think that's a very valid question to bring up, right? I feel like a lot of people will never be happy on that Saban's coaching. Nah, yes and no. I think, and listen, championships in winning, gets rid of everything. So I think that will be the case, but the next coach who's the first one to win a national championship, so let's just say Coach DeBoer, I think once they win a championship themselves, it will finally help. You're never going to probably completely close that door anytime soon. It's probably going to take years to completely close the Saban door. But I think whoever wins the next championship, that door is going to probably go from what might be like, this bit open to maybe it's going to be like just cracked. Only because of the nostalgia, maybe. I don't know. But I think winning cures a lot of that. I'm sorry, the depth in the trenches on both sides of the ball have taken a hit because of parity. No, listen, I agree. I agree on that front. I do agree on that front. Now, I will say this, though. We did have opportunities to address some depth, say, on the defensive line. There's a number of guys in the portal from the defensive line. I think it's clear what we're starting to see is this is an offense. Again, he's an offensive-minded guy. They're going to put more eggs in their offensive basket. Personally, I think they would benefit from leaning more into those trench positions. I do. But I think it's evident we definitely are a little bit more offensive-centric or offensive-focused. I think while I was at practice, maybe he knows where they're taking it outside. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm hoping it was if it was because it's cold outside, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be disappointed. And I think that's – unfortunately going to play into kind of some of the things you might hear somebody like Damien say. Like, even though, does it make that big of a difference? No, but, if it's because it's cold and you're expecting to play in a cold thing, I don't agree with that. But I don't know, though. I don't know. Elite coaches know how to get the best out of you. Elite coaches adjust. Is Kalen DeBoer and Grubb's system a system offense or just damn good offensive play callers, period? Well, here's the thing. I'm still trying to understand a little bit more about the system, Tia, to be honest with you, because in terms of like the good play caller point, I can't say that we've had like some elite. I would 100% cannot say we've had elite play calling consistently. I cannot say that. I don't know if it's been as bad as some people might have put it, but I definitely can say there's been some head scratching moments for sure. Especially you go back in the SEC championship and watch how Georgia is playing you and why we're not adjusting and doing different things. That to me, I don't understand why there was no adjustment. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. A few more minutes we wrap things up. I promise tomorrow we'll really dive deep into the Oklahoma matchup, and we'll bring up numbers and tape and all that stuff. But big thanks to Josh Pate, who joined us on the show earlier in the first hour. If you guys missed it, you always can go back anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, plus over on the YouTube stream. You always can rewind that as well. All right, looks like we got Wyatt up in the studio. He's ready for his show coming up next. But Wyatt, you got any thoughts? I think you were about to chime in on some of the stuff we were talking about. First, let me ask you this, because I think you were at practice. Did they say why they were indoors? Were they just doing Indian indoors, then going outside? Please tell me that was the case.
They did not say. I wouldn't be shocked if they were practicing indoors. It's. I mean, you've practiced in that indoor. I imagine it's a little easier to get louder in that indoor facility with all the noise bouncing around. So maybe they were doing it to try and get used to the crowd noise that they're going to face in Norman, Oklahoma on Friday night. No, that's actually a really good point. I'm glad you made that point. That is very fair. We also can work crowd noise outside. I will say there's speakers, but like you said, it's definitely a lot louder in the indoor. So maybe that had some type of factor there. They're going to call me old school or whatever, but I'm just like, man, be playing outdoors and it's going to be cold, bro. Y'all need to get y'all's ass outside and be ready for it. You know what I mean? Take it on, man. Can't run from the cold, but who knows? In terms of anything else. That weather's actually not going to be too bad in Norman. I think kickoff temp's like 49 degrees, something like that. It'll stay 40s throughout the entire game. And I mean, it was below freezing up until, about 20 minutes ago here in Tuscaloosa. So I imagine they probably didn't or I know for a fact they didn't, because I was freezing in the indoor. So I know they didn't kick the heat on. So probably just crowd noise and things like that they were working on today. That's a good point. Yeah, just turn the AC up and then all right, fair enough. You got your crowd noise and it's still pretty cold. Fair enough. All right, Wyatt, did you have anything to chime in on we were just talking about, or I was making that up? I thought I heard the mic come on. No, yeah. And they mentioned this during the SEC schedule reveal back last Thursday. I think 10-2 is the new 11-1. Yep. Like, I mean, the national champion last year lost 2 games, didn't even play in their conference championship. So you go 10-2 in the regular season, like you mentioned, with the parity across college football, the fact that, Indiana, historically the worst FBS program, is the only undefeated team in high-level college football right now. The amount of parity that you've seen, 10-2 is the new 11-1, especially when you look at how tough the SEC is. Kalen DeBoer hot seat conversation, I think, is absolutely ridiculous. No disrespect. Control your boy, man. Like, come on, brother. Listen. He gets paid, man. So I mean, sure, he gonna more than I do. That's for sure. Hey, that's what at the end of the day, man. He got a family to feed. So if it's but listen, I've talked today, man. I talked to him, and he'll be the first one to tell you. Like, I'm not saying he does stuff completely for shock factor, but he definitely understands like that shock factor, that entertainment, that kind of deal. That's going to grab attention. And at the end of the day, but again, I want to be clear. Like, I'm not saying he's only doing it for that. It's definitely not that. But I definitely believe that plays a role in why he leans heavy into what he does say. Because I think people have to understand, if a former player is saying something about like a stand or this and that does not make them salty. We're just breaking it down from a football perspective. And you got to remember, guys, like we lived this. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, that was the highlight of their career. No, this was like we lived it. I mean, we're passionate about it. I mean, like this was like we went from boys to men, and like we were a part of something that literally is going to go down as being one of the greatest dynasties in the history of the sport ever. You know what I mean? And like that's no small feat. Like that's why him too, like we take pride. Like our handprints are in Denny Chimes. Our names are etched in the stone in front of the stadium. Like that's serious to us. So you're damn right. My guys are going to be passionate when it comes to it. I take my approach where I try to, protect, I'm honest, but it's a good balance of honest and respectful. Never put anybody, under the bridge or saying like, oh, I don't do that. But, to each his own. But yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, but I'm not going to sit there and turn on my guy just because I don't agree with the, a number of things he says. But at the end of the day, believe it or not, contrary to what most people believe, the dude really does, no, he enjoyed his time here. There's no reason for him to have bad anything. I think he just feels strongly about, bro, like we really put our bodies on, like if people have no idea what we went through to put out those championships and all it was not just we were beating up on people. If people knew what we went through behind the scenes, like really not just what you see these little clips and stuff, but like what we went through,
and y'all talk about people being hurt and banged up. Y'all have no idea what we practiced through, what we played through, the surgeries that we had, the little procedures, things that y'all might not have heard or even known about. Like y'all don't understand it. So unless you do, you would understand why people care so passionate about it. But that's just kind of my thoughts. Anyway,
no. I mean, he knows a lot more ball. He's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. I mean, Damien's I loved Damien when he was here and y'all were playing. But you mentioned something, recalibrate those expectations. And you had mentioned that when DeBoer first got here. I think not only with DeBoer, like Saban, Josh said it. Josh Pate said it because I listened to that segment as well. You eliminate Saban, which you can't do, but Saban's still affecting this program, even though he's no longer been, or he hadn't been here for the last 2 years as a coach. I mean, those expectations are still there. But with the parity, with NIL, with the transfer portal, with the fact that Kalen DeBoer is Kalen DeBoer, not Nick Saban, there's that recalibration of expectation for Alabama. And so you combine that with, hey, 10-2 is the new 11-1. The national champion last year lost 2 games. My perspective is that Kalen DeBoer's done a really, really good job, especially when you start to take into account the mass exodus when Saban did retire in the transfer portal there. I mean, the 3 best players on this roster arguably are Jeremy Bernard, Parker Brailsford, and Josh Cuevas. None of them played under Coach Saban. None of them were here under Coach Saban at all. So continue to get your guys in, continue to kind of build this roster and build everything the way Kalen DeBoer has done it. And I'm happy with what he's done through these first 2 years. I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm okay with where Alabama sits as of right now. I understand it's not the championship standard that Alabama's had, but I think they're working their way back towards that. And I think DeBoer, as of right now, like he's the right guy for the job.
No, I definitely understand. I was about to say I had a comment. I know you got your show coming up, so I'm not going to keep it, but we can talk about it tomorrow. It's interesting though, because I know people, they mentioned Coach Saban and how he wouldn't basically, we saw his thing wasn't working anymore because of NIL and transfer portal. And the only thing I'll say before we go is, and we talk about it more tomorrow, I disagree. I give pushback on that. I don't think those were the contributing factors to why he wasn't having success. I would argue it was the fact that unfortunately he couldn't keep his coaches around like he could before. He couldn't retain his coaches anymore. And think about all the turnover that he was dealing with and was still able to have success for a while. In the last few years, his last year, I mean, he had to bring Kevin Steele back. And I'm telling you guys right now, for a fact, Kevin Steele wasn't even really acting as a defensive coordinator after like week 3 of the season. Right. So, I mean, there was way more challenges that he faced than NIL. And I don't agree with that. No, you're good. No, you're good. And I was about to say, I don't agree with not you saying that, but when some people say like, he couldn't make it in this era, Coach Saban would have been fine. Trust me, he would have adapted, but we'll save that for tomorrow. Big thanks to everybody joining the show. Big thanks to Dom real quick before we get out of here with the $4.99 super chat. Reminding about those likes here on the stream. Big thanks to Chase behind the glass, all our listeners, Ty 100.9, all our friends over on YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. We got Wyatt, who you just heard from, coming up next, so stay tuned on radio for that, right here on Ty 100.9, 1230 WTBC. This has been the Miller's Edge, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Support Experts. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily. From the
All right, so I had to run off of there because radio was ending. Big thanks, Dom. I appreciate that. Shout out to Dom, guys. If you guys haven't, man, I think he's still working on his stuff, but when he does get it rolling, man, make sure you guys check out Dom and his page. You change your name, Dom? Dom Talk That Talk. I like it. Superfly says, absolutely, no matter what, even if it's raining, you're training. My days in the Army, we say, saying train as you fight. Yeah, that's all I was saying. So if it's going to be cold out there, I just want to hope. I would hope that we're outside at some point. Plus, Saban kept his system. You had to learn it. Call Kirby and ask him if it's because of parity. See, I just want to, and we'll dive into this tomorrow. But I keep hearing people throw that out because the conversations with DeBoer right now. Then it's basically saying, "Oh, well, Coach Saban, his thing wasn't working anymore." And I'm like, I think people have to understand. It's not the NIL or it wasn't the transfer. Coach Saban, do you not remember who he got out of the transfer portal? Like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? What's his name? Teammate with him with the Lions. Why am I drawing a blank, man? Why am I drawing a blank? Give me his name, guys. The receiver. J-Mo, right? Like, he went to the portal. He got guys that were great contributors. Like, so that wasn't that. I'm telling you what it was with Coach Saban, man. The retention of his coaches was just tough, man. I mean, think about it. Look at his last couple coordinators, man. Listen to Saban. He said it was the grind. 1,000%. Yeah. And why do you think it was so much more of a grind? Because he was having to do so much more. Like, guys, I'm telling you what I know. This is a fact that wasn't in the media, but I'm telling you what I know. Kevin Steele, who was the defensive coordinator that last year, by week 2 or 3 was not even really serving as defensive coordinator anymore. He was around, but it was almost as if he just was there, but he was not serving as the coordinator normally would. T-Rob was stepping up a lot. Coach Saban had his hand in it way more than he typically does. And what I'm getting at is when you have all this turnover, and even look at the offensive coordinator side of things, like Coach Saban was having to search. It was hard for him to even be able to go and get if he didn't have to worry about that and he could just go out and get good coaches like he typically did, it would have been a different story. And I would argue that you wouldn't have seen this quote unquote drop off from Coach Saban. It wasn't him himself. It was just the unfortunate situation where he didn't have the luxury that Dabo Swinney had, where all his coaches were just hanging around. Guys, you got to remember, I mean, like, we had to replace. We had my first 2 years, I had Kirby Smart, then I had Jeremy Pruitt, then he got hired, then I had Tosh Lupoi my senior year. Clemson, when they were kind of doing those things, they didn't really have to deal with that. I mean, you look at Kirby. I know he's had some guys hired off, but I mean, Schumann's been with them. Lanning was there, but Schumann's been there, and Schumann's always been a big piece. And plus, Kirby's a lot younger. So I just wanted to at least kind of get pushback on that because I keep seeing people say that, man. I'm going to ride for my coach, but like, yeah, I think it's just true. I think people overdo that. Like, oh, well, coach wouldn't. No. If Coach Saban's way doesn't work, why is Georgia having so much success? It's literally the same blueprint. It's the same system. It's the same process. Literally everything they do there is the same way we did it here. If it doesn't work, then how does it work at Georgia? It's not true. It does work. He just was unfortunate, man. He was just climbing on up there. Real quick, what else we got for we? I don't know why some people think the portal and NIL make Coach Lee. He got better players out. Exactly. That's my whole point. People make it seem like he could have dominated the dude. What are y'all talking about? Not y'all, but what are people saying? Recruiting still was going good. Everything was being a little bit more of a challenge, yeah, because people were concerned. Oh, you're going to be here, you're going to retire, like, yeah, but people make it seem like everything just like fell off. Nah, bro. His last year, he took a team that everybody had written off to the college football. They won the SEC championship and beat Georgia, took them to the college football playoffs, right? With all the struggles that they had, our offensive line that year statistically was literally one of the worst offensive lines in the country. And literally was about a play away from winning the Michigan game. As a matter of fact, I would argue that if we didn't give up that I think it was fourth down, that quick flat route to Blake Corum out of the backfield. Caleb Downs had a bust right there. I think they went bunch. He was supposed to take the flat. He was wide open. He picked it up, got the first down, and ended up scoring. I mean, we would have been playing in the national championship game. Like, it's crazy how quick people forget that. We were like, I mean, it was, and I hate saying, one play because there's always a number of plays. But as bad as we played, remember early on, the first couple of drives, I mean, we got sacked. I mean, probably 2, 3, 4 times in just like the first quarter of the game. We still were only about a play or two away from playing a national championship game against Coach DeBoer, against Washington. And judging how Michigan played in that game, I would argue, I think we would have matched up pretty damn well against Washington. Now, I mean, that's all, hypothetical, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's just interesting how people shift their perspective so quick, man. Even like, again, like we're talking about like the extension thing. I literally just pointed out, hey, man, what are y'all's thoughts on, treading lightly in terms of not digging ourselves too deep in terms of a buyout? That does not mean I don't have faith in Coach DeBoer. Again, I support Coach. I think he's a great coach. I mean, there's still some things that I want to see out of him that I think, he'll prove over the next couple of years.
which is very fair. I'm not talking about championship stuff. I'm talking about little things like, in the course of the game. That said, I just brought up the numbers because I'm a numbers guy, man. Like I invest money, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a numbers guy. And like seeing the people like upset over that, and I'm like, crazy how quick people shift. Because just 3 months ago, I mean, half the fan base y'all were calling for the dude's job, talking about buying lottery tickets and buy them out. Like, now all of a sudden people are like, yeah, it's just interesting, man. Really interesting stuff. I don't know. I guess that's just the world for you. Any wait, hold on. What is this? This news about Jeremy Pruitt? Is this legit? Has granted former Tennessee coach an injunction against NCAA, preventing it from enforcing its show cause order or interfering with his employment opportunities. Is that legit, guys? Do we have breaking news here? I think it's legit. I mean, defense is playing good, though. So clearly you're not going to just make that change. Get Pruitt on staff now. I mean, now they're not going to hire him as a defensive coordinator. The way we're playing right now defensively is Kane Wyman's doing a nice job. His defense is growing on me. But I'll say this, I mean, maybe if a linebacker spot were to open up, hell, I think he's got experience coaching DBs too. If anybody were to leave or something like that, and he'd be interested in taking like a position role, which might not be a bad gig for him, because he's probably going to have to start there at some point. No, this is saying that his restrictions are gone. That's why we're talking about this. Allegedly, he was granted by a judge an injunction against the NCAA, preventing it from enforcing its show cause. So, are you saying he still has restrictions? Just they can't. Let's read this. Let's not jump the gun here. Let's read this real quick. We'll do some overtime, but let's see. Alabama judge on Monday granted a preliminary injunction requested by former Tennessee coach Jeremy Pruitt against NCAA injunction sought to prevent the NCAA from enforcing its 6-year show cause order against him following an investigation into those infractions. We all know about that. Wrote the benefits of the injunction to Pruitt outweighed the hardship it would impose on the NCAA. The order prevents NCAA from enforcing its show cause order or interfering with his employment opportunities. So, at least from an opportunity standpoint, it can't affect him there. Now, could there be restrictions once he is hired? That part I don't know. Pruitt, the one-time Alabama defensive coordinator, filed an injunction as part of the $100 million lawsuit. His attorneys argued for the court to grant the injunction because the NCAA's penalties, the basis of the lawsuit, were preventing high-level college teams from hiring him. So he still can't recruit or coach. Wait, but are you sure? I don't. But what's the point of getting this injunction then? If they're saying they can't enforce the show cause, are you sure about that, From? I don't know. Multiple institutions and programs have expressed interest in his services and have acknowledged his coaching abilities and qualifications. However, representatives and coaches with these same institutions have indicated that the show cause order making him extremely problematic. Argue that he does not need the injunction because they had already granted Jacksonville State's request to hire him. But let's see. Also attempted to dismiss his original lawsuit, but last week denied that request. So the lawsuit still is intact right now. Where are you seeing it? Wait, non-contact. Where are you seeing that? Did I miss that in the thing? So you're saying even with them
I know he's an analyst at Jacksonville State, but that was like a one-time thing. That was a request granted for that specific role. This here is saying that he was granted an injunction to prohibit the NCAA from enforcing the show cause, which in my mind, I'm reading that as the show cause entails all of those restrictions and details that you're referring to. So am I reading something wrong or? Saying Downs, Haynes, Red, Bama. Arthur, what are you responding to with that? That was the other thing I was going to ask you guys, because I know a lot of people say that we always talk about the mass exodus when Coach Saban retired. But when we really look at it, how many of those guys were like true impactful guys? Yeah, that's what I'm saying from. This is like from today. That's what we're reading. So I think with this, I think this would open the door for him to be hired by other schools with, without so many of those restrictions. Yeah. Like I know Tia's probably got an idea, but like in terms of like the people that left, I'm not saying I'm trying to go against, because I do agree that while on one hand, like I don't think Coach DeBoer inherited like this like perfect, elite roster that many people initially kind of described it as. However, I don't think it's as bad as what some people describe it as. Like when some people make it seem like, he inherited a roster that, I don't know, whatever the word you want to describe it as. You get what I'm saying, guys? Like to me, I think that's a little bit like I'm like, all right, I wouldn't make it seem like everybody left and he had nobody. I mean, like literally, let's look at the depth chart real quick. Well, let's look at let's pull it up real quick. I should save the talk for tomorrow, but who knows? I'm sure people are going to try to find a way to spin this as like me hating or something, which is totally not. I'm just humoring myself. Alabama players that transferred after Coach Saban retired. Let's see. And the reason I'm bringing this up because I keep seeing people compare like their two resumes, like in the first 2 years, and some people were saying what Coach DeBoer. Somebody responded to I think one of the tweet I had saying that what'd they say? That what Coach DeBoer has done in his 2 years is more impressive than what Coach Saban did in his first 2 years. I'm going to bring this back up tomorrow, guys, but I'm curious, like, what are y'all's thoughts on that? How do y'all see that? Because me personally, I'm probably going to sound like I have, Coach Saban bias, but I don't think I can sit here and say what Coach DeBoer has done in 2 years is more impressive than what Coach Saban did. I can't say that. I know they're saying, well, there's more parity now, but Coach Saban, I think in his second year had an undefeated regular season. And he took over a program that was in a much different position than this. Like I know we lost guys when Coach retired, but to make it seem like, yeah, I don't know about that. DeBoer inherited a better roster than Saban, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now, I do get the argument that yes, there's more parity now with Coach DeBoer versus Coach Saban, maybe, but still, I mean, but from where Coach Saban started, I mean, like, I think that outweighs the parity aspect, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the teams on the schedule that year in Coach Saban's second year and like how those teams were. There's no comparison. DeBoer had more variables than Coach Saban. Yeah, see that's how I view it. But for some reason, there's people that are out there arguing that what Coach DeBoer has done in 2 years, they think is just as or more impressive. And I'm not ready to go that far. I think he's done a really good job in this landscape, but I think sometimes people take it way too far. So here are the guys that left. So when we talk about this exodus, so here are the guys that left. Julian Sand, who we're seeing how well he's playing right now at Ohio State. A lot of people dismissed that and kind of, laughed at him. I just kept saying, I wouldn't be so quick to do that. I mean, we'll see how this looks a couple years down the road. And to be fair, oh, I forgot to tell you guys. Yeah, LT Overton's not playing. I'll be honest with you. I don't expect him to return anytime soon. I can't say too much more, but I'm just going. You guys heard it from me. That's all I'll tell you.
I don't anticipate him probably won't be back at all this season. Could be wrong, but that's, to my understanding, I don't think he's expected to be back. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some crazy insider or whatever. Y'all just know me. I mean, I'm always, I got a bunch of relationships with people. I just don't share a whole bunch, but I'll just tell you guys now, just don't anticipate him being back soon. Kelby Collins, I saw him in the practice club. He'll be good. Kelby Collins will be back, but LT will not be back for this game. Yeah. Unfortunately, it sucks, but yeah. Tim Keeney, yeah, he's playing in that Senior Bowl. Oh, yeah. So here are these things. So after going back and looking at it, I think it is fair to say, I mean, that Julian Samuel ended up being a bigger loss than people probably gave it credit at the time. Caden Proctor initially transferred, but he came back. So we're going to nullify that one. Caleb Downs, that's definitely a big loss. I know people are going to go, oh, we're good. We got Bray Hubbard, but it's a matter. You could have had Bray Hubbard and Caleb Downs. So don't again, let's take the glass off. Don't be salty. Let's just call it a spade. Call a spade a spade. Losing Caleb Downs was a big loss. I mean, that dude just won the Thorpe Award, even though some of those things are a little bit of a political contest, but he's going to be a first-round draft pick without a doubt. Nye Black, he left, but those are the type of guys I'm saying, like, I think Nye Black would have fared much better staying here, but I mean, look at where he's at right now. Like, are we going to make it seem like that was this massive loss? No. Antonio Kite, I think that's a DB. I don't even think he's at Auburn anymore. Sean Murphy, really nice kid, man. I like Sean a lot. But I know he played some snaps for South Carolina, but I don't think that was I think the guys that we have are upgrade without a doubt. Again, I love Sean. There's no disrespect. I'm just being honest. Des Ricks, Isaiah Bond, that one was definitely a bigger one. Isaiah Bond, that was a big one, losing your top receiver. But yeah, guys, those are like the main names. I guess a corner who went to Ole Miss. What's his name, Tia? Damn, I'm forgetting his name. Let me see. It might be on this other. Oh, Amos, number 1 on this list. That was a loss. So really, if you look at it, guys, I mean, you lost a potential starting corner, starting safety. Those are two big ones. Starting receiver, the Barnes guy, Malik Benson. I mean, really probably a depth guy, but we'll give him a half point. Kendrick Blackshire, depth guy. Brockermeyer, Brooks. I mean, half the receivers, I hate to say it like that, but they didn't really do anything when they're here. Buckner. I'm just playing. Let me stop. Ferguson, Goodwine. What I'm getting at is you really just lost a lot of depth. And the only reason I'm bringing this one up is when people make it seem like this mass exodus as if like he was given this horrific roster. The really only main ones that weren't depth pieces really were the guys we just named. The potential corner in Amos, Downs, Isaiah Bond. I guess Nye Black would have been your potential starter would have been a starter at tight end. But who knows? He might have gotten beat out seeing how things played out for him. Kitzelman, did he leave after coach retired or did he leave before? I think he was already leaving before that. Earl Little. Wait, Seth McLaughlin. Oh, wait, is this an old list? I feel like some of these guys were before. Maybe not. No, I guess these guys are included. So I guess you did lose a number of guys. Maybe I won't count all of them. Benson's doing good. Over 30 players. Yeah, but I know the number, but I'm asking you guys, which of those guys do you really feel like were like quality guys? Because like you realize, you guys might not realize, but statistically, teams like Georgia, Ohio State, these teams lose like 20 guys on average every year. When I refer to parity, teams are not able to stack depth like we used to. That's true. That's fair. Really, that's you're right. I mean, I would say trench play looks a little bit different, and I would also say you're spot on depth.
Depth. The transfer portal is the biggest killer of depth. I mean, Coach talked about it all the time, and literally that's a fact. Depth has been destroyed due to the transfer portal. Some of them left before Kalen got there. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think some of those people on that list I just reading, I think we're already leaving or anticipate leaving, something like that. I don't know. Again, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I've seen several people comparing those two. I get the record comparison, but to me, I thought some people were taking a little step too far, saying like, "Oh, his first 2 years are more impressive than Coach Saban's first 2 years," and I personally didn't see it that way. So I was curious what y'all thought. Courtney Morgan actually did his thing. I had my doubts. No, he's done a really good job. I mean, I think listen and getting to talk to him behind the scenes and then having him, talk on the recruiting show about the inner workings of everything, man. No, I mean those guys do a really good job, and he is a key aspect there. 100%. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I had doubts because I didn't really know what to expect. The whole general manager thing for me was new entirely. I just didn't even really know what the whole deal was at all. But I think what he's doing right now, no, I think it's been people might not want to hear this, but I think a lot of people, and people probably know this, but people sum it up to like DeBoer. Sometimes when people say like, "Oh, DeBoer is recruiting well," they literally think like, "Oh, it's specifically him doing all this." But I would argue Courtney Morgan is probably a really big piece of that puzzle. Not just him, but all the people involved in the recruiting process. And I know people people will spin things how they want to spin it, but I'm just telling you guys what I know. I mean, there's several coaches on this staff that are not great recruiters, and I think it just helps having a guy like Courtney Morgan and some of these other guys. I ain't naming names, but there are some coaches on this staff that are not not that. Cal's general manager is actually like a general manager in the league. Ron Rivera is a football decision maker out there. Oh, wait, I didn't even know that. Ron Rivera is the one who drafted me, man. I love Coach Rivera, man. He's a good football coach. Wait, damn. So you got Ron Rivera and Tosh out there, man. They might be cooking something up. We'll have to see. We had a lot of wideouts missing. DeBoer had to rebuild the receiver room. I'll say, yeah, listen. First year, we didn't really – I definitely agree that the effects of the guys leaving, we didn't have hardly any depth at receiver last year. Riverboat wrong, that's right. But my thing is, look at where we're at now in our receiver room with who we have. I feel like that was all recouped with better players. If we had the playoffs in 2008, then both Coach Saban and DeBoer would have made the past season year two. Made the postseason year two. Yeah, but because we were his second year, we went undefeated in the regular season, but then we lost in the SEC championship game. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I got to walk this like fine line because I mean, now there's accusations. Thanks, Damian. Saban's players are salty. They're this and that. They're whatever. I'm like, bro, y'all going off of like one guy has strong take, and y'all just lump everybody in this whole category. Like even like AJ, like I'm like AJ calls it how it is, or how he sees it, and like he doesn't sugarcoat stuff. And I know some people get frustrated, but I'm like, to make it seem like these guys like don't care about the like. Again, I can understand maybe if you raise an eyebrow here and like Damian kind of go in. Because it's not just like one time. I mean, it's pretty frequent. And I mean, and he's pretty extreme with it. But I do think, I mean, like this whole thing where it's like, oh, former players have like this, we're waging war or don't like, nah, dude, it's the furthest thing, bro. Not even close, bro. I mean, guys are just passionate. And if people only really knew, like really like, bro, I think if people, like, and I said it earlier before we got off the air, but I think really if people knew like what it took to build what we were building or what we built, like anybody that played under Coach Saban, like that's why we all are so close. Like
I hate comparing sports to like the armed forces because I know you got to be careful with that. And I promise what they do in terms of their sacrifice that make for this country is, I mean, it's not even comparable to sports. So I want to be clear when I say this, but what I'm saying in terms of like the training involved, in terms of the camaraderie, um, the discipline, the experiences, I mean, just going through hell together, you know what I mean? Unless you lived it, like people will never like understand. That's why I'm saying. That's why I kind of. I'll be honest. I will, if I'm being completely honest, it bothers me when I see like fans going at like former guys just because they don't agree with their opinion. I'm not talking about Damien's, just only him, but like anything, or make it even like I'm saying, even like Greg McElroy, man. Like I know some people don't like his stuff, but I'm like he's just calling it. Could he come off as a little bit like smartest guy in the room? Sure, but if people think that them as fans care more about the guys that lived this and made all types of sacrifices, not just physically, but I mean, like we never got to celebrate holidays. We were flying on Christmas night. Like I don't think people understand, bro. Like it's all worth it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, bro, like we missed out on so much. I mean, there's so many sacrifices that people don't understand. And again, we weren't getting paid. We didn't have NIL. Like our school was paid for, and yes, we had the dining hall and we got cool gear. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like this is a different era, guys. Like we did it for like the love of the game. So like when people make it like seem like, oh, they just used out. No, like yeah, like some people obviously came here knowing the opportunity provided, but like, dude, I got relationships with guys that came here, they transferred, or even guys like, you know what I mean? Like there's different scenarios that played out. Like I wish I could. There's no way I could ever really explain it. Like unless it's one of those things. Like unless you experienced it, like I'll never be able to fully explain. That's why y'all see like when I bring Tony on here, y'all see how me and Tony interact. You know what I mean? Like it's something like Tony was at my house last week, stopping through town. Like hey, it was like man, I got to stop by before I get out. Like you know what I mean? Like bro, like we really care about it. And tell me we gone on, do other stuff, but played, do other stuff, but still, bro, at the end of the day, like there's always a special place for Alabama because of our experiences here, man. So I just wish people understood that before they jumped on some of these guys, if they have like a take where, like I said, it really comes from a place of passion. I promise it's not hate. And I'm not talking about myself. I don't think anybody ever thinks that about me. I'm sure we've had one ignorant person or something misconstrue anything I've said, but won't disagree with you there. Whatever happened to Corey Brooks, he fell off. I don't even know where he's at right now. I think James Franklin was better in his first year than Vincent Barter. Only difference is they train with weapons. You don't. Yeah, like I said, I'm always careful like comparing that because again, it's not even comparable really in terms of like their sacrifice and what they do. I'm just saying in terms of like the structure, the discipline. Stuff like that. As Air Force vet, it's a fair comparison. All right, well, I just want to make sure I ain't stepping on nobody's toes, man, because I promise it's not. I'm just talking about because I grew up, Fort Jackson in Columbia. I grew up right around the corner, so I mean, I've been around the military. I used to go shopping on the PX when I was younger, so I know a little bit about it. A lot of friends and family that are in the armed forces. Just double down on the no Michigan thing. Oh, I forgot. Coach DeBoer's dang. We should have just pulled it up. I should have just let it play for you guys live, since I was going to be sitting here anyway. Just doing a little bit of overtime, but yeah. Thanks, Jake. So it looks like Coach DeBoer doubled down on that. Did it just end? Yeah, it just ended. We can save it for tomorrow for the show. Looks like it's kind of long too.
It's afternoon. All right. Good afternoon. Just got off the practice field.
Yeah, should we save it for tomorrow? Brooks had a great career at Louisville, plays for the Commanders on the practice squad. They said they didn't let Tony Brown on the field or LSU. I hope that won. Nah, they were acting funny about that. And I'll be honest, like that see stuff like that just kind of sometimes I don't. It's kind of confusing because because listen, there's like it changed. Sometimes they say like, oh, we want to reserve sideline stuff for like current NFL guys, which you understand. I mean, we got a lot of a lot of former players, a lot of NFL guys. I mean, so that makes sense. But my thing is, if they're going to have certain rules, they got to keep it consistent. Because Tony is not retired. Tony, I mean, again, he just was doing camp with the team. He just, he's a free agent right now. But yeah, they were at now. I don't know if it was because of what do you call it? He didn't say staff. Was it starts with a C, right? Scythe? I don't know. I don't know if it's because of that. Maybe that was part of it. But I think they did. I wouldn't say they like, turn them down, but I can't remember what it was. But then you see like some of the other guys on the sideline. I was just like, I don't know. I just hope we don't get to a point like that because last year, they were pretty Scepter. There you go. Thank you. It's Scepter. Thank you, Jake. Yeah, last year I feel like it was pretty. No, last year it wasn't like that either. Last year it was weird because one week there was like, oh, they wanted to keep it current NFL guys, and then the next week I was down there, and again I'm a little bit different because I mean I work with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, so like I mean I'm clearly a former player. I'm not actively playing. But since I do work with the network, it's different. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just one of those guys coming into town. Like, so take me out of this. But then, like, another week, I saw a guy that played before I played that I don't even think really played in the league. I think he maybe had like a training camp invite. But again, that's besides the point. But what I'm getting at is this was kind of interesting. I'm like, they're going to end up rubbing some former guys the wrong way if they're not consistent with how they. If you're gonna make a rule or do something, they got to stay consistent with it. They deny Landon Collins too, and that's crazy. See, this is my only thing. I'll be honest. I do worry that sometimes, and I don't. It's not Coach DeBoer. I think sometimes some of the people that after Coach retired, there's some people kind of put in different positions that they weren't before. And I'll just be honest. Sometimes I think that kind of. I don't know. I heard they did that to Trent Richardson too, though. Somebody told me this year that they told Trent Richardson he didn't have the right pass and they wouldn't let him down pregame. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, it's Trent Richardson. Everybody knows Trent. Not only just that, but I'm like, he's doing a podcast with Chris Stewart right now. I'm like, man, just come on, man. I just hope we don't get to that point. Yeah, that's. I just hope we don't get to a point where we're like, because I don't know. You're talking about guys that gave a lot. I mean, like Landon, Trent. I mean, those are key guys, man. We got another $4.99 super chat. Appreciate Gelato. He says, "Do you think Bama needs to speed up the pace so OU can't read the formations or signals?" Well, I'll say this. I think getting into some tempo could maybe help at times. Listen, I think at this point, when you have an offense that is kind of just out of sync, you're not really having the success right now. I think it's important that you try to find things that can give you a spark, right? Typically, when you hear a spark, you think of like a position change. I'm not saying that, but maybe that is try to go a little bit of tempo, right? Teams might not be preparing for that, kind of throw them off a little bit. Plus, like you said, you're not allowing them, like, Coach Saban, we talked about this last week in terms of our checks, giving them time to check and get in and out of things. Try to work some tempo. Sometimes tempo itself would help you, like in terms of running game. Sometimes it can help open it up. Sometimes you see, teams go tempo and it doesn't work out great, but just try it. I think it could potentially, because I know Oklahoma is a team where they have there's a lot of layers of their defense. So going tempo, the reason they used to kind of stress us out as a defense because we had a lot of layers. I know Brent Venables and his defense is very similar. So yeah, I think tempo could be one of those things that could maybe add another little element to our offense. I think also, and I mentioned this last week, I think we throw the ball anyways. I know we still do it out of 11, 12 personnel. We're our formations don't necessarily dictate what we're doing, right? We still throw the ball regardless of what we're lined up in. But I wouldn't be opposed to even seeing us if we're struggling with gap scheme. And when I talk about gap scheme, we're talking about
power, right? Those type of, blocking, those type of run plays that, they use gap scheme between the tackles and whatnot, counter. We haven't been great with a lot of that. So lean into more zone, lean into more of the pin and pull that we've seen. And I wouldn't be opposed to even trying to, take the Tennessee approach, spread them out, right? Because they're already anticipating us throwing the football anyways. Try to get better numbers in the box. Try to find a light box. If you go back in that Oklahoma game when Daniel Hill broke that big run, right? That was because we had the numbers that we wanted, numbers advantage, and he was able to pick up a big gain. So I almost think at this point, man, like try that. Because listen, I know people are like, oh, we'll try getting 12 personnel and heavy. That ain't working. It ain't working. We do 12 personnel and we still can't run the football effectively. So I think at this point, maybe try some of that. Tennessee runs the football like that, and they do it very effectively. They're in 11 personnel damn near the entire game. Sometimes they'll be in 10 with four wideouts, and it's just a numbers advantage for them. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I'll show you what play I'm talking about real quick before we get out of here. But I have to do it with the TV copy since I don't have our offense versus Oklahoma's defense. Let me see. When did that play happen? I know it was later in the game. Was it third quarter? Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I think it was just simple zone play, but to the right. We were on the left hash, and it was out of the gun. Simple, I think just literally just zone to Daniel Hill. But he ended up running for like 20-something. It was our longest carry of the game. It was in the third quarter. Hold on, let me go back. I'm going to pull this up. But I can't remember the personnel grouping, but I want to see it because I want to say we motioned him in, then got to it. But I for some reason I want to say we had like 2x2, like we didn't have anybody in the core. Everybody was split out. Here it is. Oh no, we did have somebody in. I lied. Nope, I lied. Looks like we were in the tight end. Might have been in 12 personnel. Regardless, though, you just see the example of the numbers game, though. This is what I'm referring to. Let me speed it up so we ain't worrying about the I don't even want to say the word. But you see what I mean by a numbers game? They've got 6 guys in the box. This guy, he's out of the box, right? Normally, we count him out, right? Because he's in that apex window. So what I'm getting at is just try to manipulate things more. And this is what I'm saying we can do a better job of offensively of trying to put our guys in better positions. Like you can't always dictate what they get into, but you can try to influence it. And so here, part of the influence is, this is 11 personnel, but we had Brooks in that wing position. But see, what they do is they're blocking it as is literally about to hit this tunnel screen right here. But you end up handing the ball off. And because of that numbers game, you got a lot of grass. You know what I mean? Like, I just think little things like this could help us out. Now, again, remember, we get helped out here because Oklahoma, look at this. They're loaded up to the right, up front. This guy's in the apex. And this guy, again, he's out here because he's got, 17, this wing position. And they're running a run stunt out of the picture, right? They're looping over here. But, it's just a basic inside zone type deal. What I'm getting at is the numbers game. That's what I'm pointing out. So I think trying to find ways to influence that, because right now just line it up man-to-man and saying, oh, we'll get in 12 personnel and try to run, power, split zone, duo. We're not having great success off of that. So I just think, unfortunately, you got to try to finesse things. And that's one of the things you can do is try to get numbers and mismatches, which we've seen them do in the passing game. They can do it in the passing game. They just got to get more creative in the running game, which, they've done stuff with the extensions of it, but I'm not sure they actually denied landing calls, but I heard Trent Landon couldn't come. Yeah, no, I heard that too. That's what I'm saying. I hope it was. Listen, I understand like the security reasons of you need to have a certain pass, but I'm just saying if they attempted to get those passes,
and they weren't able to. I don't know, man. I don't know. The way I view it is, man, and it's not to look out for me because, fortunately, since again, I do work with the network. I mean, like, I got great relationships with everybody. My fingerprint works. I mean, I don't have to. Let me not say it like that. Let me not say too much, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, like, I have luxuries of just going out there, checking out practice, whatever. Because again, I mean, it not only am I a former player, but also the work that I do. But even that said, I mean, it's funny. One day, Coach DeBoer told me, he's like, man, the former player thing outrides and all that stuff. Don't worry about that. He's like, you're always welcome out here. So that's what I'm saying. It's not him. It wouldn't be him. It's people that are in charge of some of that other stuff. Those are OGs. Yeah. Nah, they wouldn't. They'd never do Julio like that. But that's why. But I'm saying, like Trent, Landon, like those are like. I mean, maybe not necessarily Julio, but still, bro. That was Texas Ole Miss's game plan, not for the sake of going fast. Just not letting them adjust. Yeah, I mean, that's why I said, I mean, try it. I was just about to ask you about spreading them out. No, I know what you mean, bro. Listen, I think you got to look at that. We walked around Mount Moore together, Christian, nobody batting. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, shout out to Jake. Yeah, exactly. Great example. Like, I didn't call or get that approved. I know that they don't mind that stuff, and I just made sure there wasn't a whole bunch of people around and just took Jake and his family into Mount Moore. I promised them that months ago, and we were able to do it. And fortunately, because, I mean, again, it's not everybody. I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying, oh, everybody's power tripping, but there have been some instances where I'm like, I hope we don't go down that road because there are other schools. I feel like that's always separated us. We've always been great with that kind of stuff with former players, and I just hope it doesn't ever get to that point because that never goes well, man. Never goes well. You see LSU and those guys were adding with Brian Kelly. Yeah, that's just not the way to go. What I'll do is I'll pull up some more tape, Gelato, tomorrow that's not on this TV copy, and we can look at it. Maybe, and I can even pull up like Tennessee because I can show you how Tennessee, their running game is literally all about numbers, man. It's all about numbers. Somebody left a note saying, can we take Damian Harris to sideline pass? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Speaking of Oklahoma, just heard back from Rodney Anderson, former Oklahoma running back who we had on a couple weeks ago when we played them. He said he'll jump on here Thursday. So we'll talk with him, man. We'll see what the inside scoop is over in Norman, kind of how they're feeling, how they're looking, all that good stuff. But that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to grab some lunch, man. Again, big thanks to all you guys, all the supporters, radio, stream, all that good stuff. Our super chats, big thanks to Dom, Gelato. Seriously, man, thank you guys so much. And all other folks. If you haven't, man, just hit that like button on the way out. That always helps us out. Subscribe, that good stuff. And just know we got plenty more coming at you. Tomorrow we got Slade joining the show. He'll be on at 11:30. And we got Clint Lamb at the top of the hour. So we'll have those guys Tuesday. Wednesday, I think we'll have Gray again, and I'm working on some more. Roman Harper, I talked to him this morning. I'm just waiting on a time. I don't know what day either, so I'm waiting on the schedule, but he should be joining us this week. We had Pate on today, so yeah, maybe I'll circle back with Brooks from the Film Guy Network because he was supposed to join last week, but we had literally 2 guests lined up the day that he was going to try to jump on. So hopefully we can do that this week, maybe, and then keep on rolling from there. And I'll try to get some other guys on here as well. But seriously, thank you guys so much for everything, all the support, man. Definitely appreciate you guys for everything. And we'll see you guys.